And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He's Griffin, of course. No one to put up on the board today as the Orioles lose 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth to the Blue Jays last night. They will try again for a series victory this afternoon. Cade Povich makes his major league debut. It's a complicated conversation. It's one of those things that, like, in a way you want to be excited about because, hey, Cade Povich is great. It's a young player coming up who doesn't like that. But on the flip side, it's because Kyle Bradish either can't or they don't want him to start. And, boy, that was a heck of an answer yesterday from Brandon Hyde when asked, like, hey, but Kyle Bradish is going to start in Tampa, right? 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 Maybe. Maybe not. Which, when you hear that answer, I think most of us kind of lean towards maybe not. Just to make sure I get it right, this was from Jake Will of MLB.com. If Kyle Bradish doesn't start for the Orioles tomorrow, will he start during the series at Tampa Bay? Manager Brandon Hyde, quote, I don't know. We're still evaluating everything, unquote.
I don't know.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Now, he said the Orioles will probably go with a lot of TBAs in the rotation throughout June. Of course, as we know, there's not many off days, including, and I need the Supreme Court to get to the bottom of this, how in the ever-loving F are they playing a Sunday afternoon and then Monday night game in Tampa? That should be not just illegal, it should be like the penalty of significant prison time. Holy effing F. I didn't even notice that.
I know. I knew it looked weird because they were playing a four-game.
I think it's always weird when you have a series that wraps around till Monday. Like, that's always weird to me. You got to play a 4-game set, play it Thursday to Sunday, right? Like, it's always weird to me to do a Friday-Monday bit. But if you have to, I think all of us with brains know you play the Monday game in the afternoon and get out of there. Because if you're playing on Monday, then you're obviously playing on Tuesday. What in the ever-loving F is that? How is that allowed? How have we not shut down the season in protest? I am to understand Monday night's game is also going to air on Fox Sports 1. So, like, is it television that's driving the fact that it's being played at night? Fox Sports 1, I don't even know if they send their broadcasters to the games. Presumably, they could pick another game to air on Monday night.
And it's still a 6:50 start, so that'd be. I mean, I guess FS1 can do it wherever they want,
Yeah,
but like
I don't know when they want to start their games. It's not on me.
But typically the Fox games start at 7 or 7:15.
I don't think that's the case for the week. I think during the week they start them like random times.
Is that
the
true?
Fox TV games on Saturday.
I guess apparently so.
On Saturday night they do them after 7, and they definitely dictate that because like the Orioles would otherwise be playing all their Saturday games at 4, and the Fox games are going to be played after 7. But during the week they play them. It's at random times. Like during the week they do 9:40 games. During the week they do all sorts of games. So I have no idea. I have no idea if that game time was set and then Fox picked it, or if Fox picked it so they had to set the game. I don't know. But I know it shouldn't be happening. It's gross. It's disgusting, and we used to be a proper country. That all being said, none of it changes the fact that the Orioles have a problem. And that the Kyle Bradish situation dramatically complicates that problem. And it's difficult to even talk about. Chelsea Janes from the Washington Post wrote about the Orioles' pitching injuries, and she's going to join us a little bit later on this hour. Ironically, when she wrote about it, we weren't really concerned about Kyle Bradish. I went back and reread her column today, and I was like, right. The Orioles are going to lean on Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish this month. Well. But that's the problem. The problem is it's difficult to talk about because it seems like we just don't know anything. If we knew then we could talk about it in the context of like, well, now the Orioles have a dramatic problem. You know, like now it's overwhelming. If we knew that it was nothing more than, hey, we're just pushing him back for a day, then we could go back to having the conversation about, you know, we're all still a bit concerned about Kyle Bradish, and you understand why the Orioles are, you know, trying to do what they can in order to tax him a bit less. But we don't know. We don't know a thing. And that's, oh boy. Look, man, there are bigger problems in the world.
Are there?
Yeah. We should probably note today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, for example. Think anyone who's ever made the trip to Normandy? God, there have been things that have made me emotional in my life. Man, you walk around in Normandy and you just weep like a baby. It's overwhelming. There are bigger problems in the world than figuring out what's going on with Kyle Bradish and how it's going to impact the Orioles. And I don't want to over-dramatize it, but it's already difficult. The Yankees are apparently never going to lose again. And I'm not sure if you heard, but they're about to get Garrett Cole back too. Yeah, that Garrett Cole. You know, the one. They've done all of this without him. He's been on rehab. He's about to return. The Yankees might never lose again. I'm not trying to be over dramatic about it because I know the Orioles are a very good baseball team. As we pointed out, even if the Yankees don't lose again, the Orioles a year ago won the division and it didn't serve them quite well. Perhaps it's not the end of the world if you don't win the division. And I'm not trying to give up hopes of winning the division either. I get it. There's still plenty of time. But it just don't feel good today. Today, it feels bleak. Because today, you're already dealing with a lot of pitching problems, and now the guy who's really been your ace since the beginning of last season, I know that Corbin Burns has taken that over this year. You have serious questions about his availability moving forward. But other than that, all's good. Chelsea Jans will join us in a little bit later on in the program. We'll make a trip to Bowie. We'll catch up with Anthony Servideo. And also, we're going to learn a little bit more about Connor Norby as Cliff Godwin, baseball coach at East Carolina. Tough week for them, man.
Yeah.
Really tough week for them. It was very, very difficult timing of trying to do this when they just lost to Evansville. And did Evansville become the first ever 4 seed to play in a super regional? Did I see that?
Really? That would be the first.
I thought I saw Greg Olson tweet that out because he's working.
Was he at that? No, he was.
No, he's working but he's
Florida.
working this weekend because they play Tennessee. I'm pretty sure I saw. Oh, sorry, not the first, the 9th. My bad. Way off.
All right, go ahead and name the other 8.
9th. Yeah, sure. You got it. Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, Stetson.
Maybe. I don't know. UC Irvine. Actually, UC Irvine was good. They probably weren't a 4th seed. UC Irvine beat Arizona State once when I was working out there. I don't know if it was a regional or a super regional. I couldn't tell you. And they had a kid on their team named the Whammer. And it's like all they talked about on the broadcast for the entirety of the weekend was the Whammer. And when the weekend was over, I think we had to have Pat Murphy, who is now, of course, the manager of the San Diego the Milwaukee Brewers,
yes.
was the manager of the Padres. Now he's the manager of the Brewers. But we had to have Pat Murphy. I think he was doing like a weekly thing with us on our show. And I had a producer at the time who was back in studio, and we were on location at a car dealership or something like that.
Sweet.
And I don't know why this was the case, but during the commercial break, whatever the producer was saying to us from the studio, it wouldn't go out over the air,
okay.
but it would go out over the speakers that were set up where we were doing this show with Pat Murphy. And I wish I could remember where it was, but there was an audience.
Huh?
And I swear to God, I guess my producer didn't know that he was going out over the speakers, but he says back, he's like, "Hey, Glenn," and I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Tell Pat Murphy I said F the whammer." I don't know why I've remembered it for however many years it's been, 16 years.
Did you tell him?
Oh, he heard.
Oh, okay.
It went over the speakers. He was sitting right there. But so did everyone in attendance. Whatever this, I wish I could remember that. We used to do live shows every day of the week, but like when we had something like that, it would be for a larger audience. And yeah, like there was quite the reaction in the car dealership or wherever we were from all of the many families that were in attendance. College baseball is a big deal in Arizona, so that would drive a lot of things. Anyway, sorry, I don't know what just happened there. Oh, right, Cliff Godwin, East Carolina baseball coach. He's going to join us. We'll talk more about Connor Norby. Of course, Connor's brother, pitcher for East Carolina this year, and I believe he threw something like 300 pitches during the regional. I believe he threw like a dangerous amount of pitches, but that's a conversation.
He'll be okay. He's a kid.
For another day. Yeah, sure. Let's just say it that way.
They want to get Tommy John out of the way early anyway. You know.
Speaking of kids, happy birthday to my younger son. My son Sam turned 7 today.
Happy birthday, Sam.
I know he's obviously listening. Listens every
Yeah.
day. It's a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts. He was very confused by Drew yesterday. No, my son.
I imagine he's following along pretty well.
Very important day in our family.
Who's he like better?
What's that?
Who's his favorite character? Like,
I got bad news.
What?
Neither one of us.
Oh, neither one.
Not a fan. Like, it's more like he's an ombudsman. He's like listening to tell me everything we got wrong.
Okay.
All right, old man. Let's see if we can't do this better tomorrow.
Should we call him at the end and get the errors? And
he does a
omissions?
weird bit sometimes where he calls me coach. I guess because I practice baseball with him. Like, I go out and work with him. But he does a weird bit every now and
That's a good
then.
bit. I should start doing that.
Where he'll call me coach. And I'll be like, what? But he just sort of rolls with it for a little while. So last night, we had balloons because we had the family over for the birthday. And we had some balloons. And we were playing, like, how many times can you tap the balloon without it touching the ground?
Mm-hmm.
We were doing that for a little bit. And once the Orioles game started, I sat down, and he kept going, right? Nice. And he would report back to me. He'd be like, Dad, 75.
You mean coach? So
But then it changed to.
Oh, okay.
I would say something like, all right, Sam, good job, buddy. And just because I wanted him to stay distracted and I wanted to watch the baseball game, I'd be like, go ahead and see if you can't do more. So he'd come back over. Ah, Coach. It was only 53 that time. Like, all right, bud.
We'll give him the line.
Got to get back in there. But he does this constantly where he'll just decide suddenly I'm coach. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think that's a good bit.
Yeah, I guess. I guess it's a good bit. That was actually, this is a straight shoot, my first radio name. They didn't go
right.
Was Coach G. When I started on the Ed Norris show.
Everyone just sees you as such an authoritative figure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a coach. Look, I was 20, whatever I was, 22, something like that when I started there. I swear, I think it was because, like, back in the day, everybody had MySpace names, and everybody used, like, a nickname on MySpace. Nobody used their real name on MySpace. And I feel like, for whatever stupid reason, mine was, I swear to God, my MySpace name was, like, Coach G. And so they hired me on 105.7, and the first time they went to put me on, they just introduced me as Coach G. But this was in an era where, like, that was a thing. Like, radio, this was hot talk radio, and everybody was, Biffy and the douche, like, that was what they did.
Go to High Pitch Eric, and,
yeah, sure, all the Howard Stern guys. Well, and I worked with Big O and Dukes, of course. Like, this was the bit. The bit was to have some stupid radio name, and I was on HFS, and it was like Tim Virgin and Crash, and like all these, like that was. Yeah, I love Gina Crash.
We should go back to that.
Gina Crash's name is not her last name is not Crash. I promise you that. But that was the thing in
It's a great
radio,
name.
is everybody had to have a radio name. So my stupid radio name was Coach G. And the number of times
What would mine be?
I have no idea. I don't know. We used to do it with interns. We used to still
Yeah.
give them nicknames. But there were two ramifications of that. The one being that there are still a handful of people that will refer to me as Coach G. Like, that still exists to this day because it stayed with me for like the first 3 years of my radio career. And every now and then, I guess it's ironic that, like, we found out yesterday the HF Festival is coming back, and, like, I would have people be like, dude, HFS, Coach G! Hi. Buster Olney's producer, a really good guy named CT, and CT is an old-school radiophile, and will, like, whenever they reach out to me, it'll be like, dude, what's up, Coach G? But the funnier one is Jeff Barnes from Fox 45 filled in once for Ed on the Ed Norris show. And I was originally hired because CBS or Infinity Radio, whatever it was called at the time.
Now it's Infinity.
No. It's so much more complicated than that.
Let's go over it.
Yeah, no, let's not. But whatever it was called at the time, they had gotten the rights to Maryland athletics, and there was like the day of every Maryland game, I had to come in to do like a preview or whatever, and they were like, oh yeah, Coach G's going to come on to preview the Maryland basketball game tonight. And Jeff Barnes, in his mind, oh, that's Gary Williams.
Ah, yes, Coach G.
Coach G. So I swear to God, Jeff Barnes, who's clearly has not run this by anybody else on the staff, like, hey, because this is, I think I was out on location doing something that day, so I wasn't in studio, so he wouldn't be able to see. It's clearly not Gary Williams.
Yeah, it's Coach G, not
It's
Gary
just
Williams.
some stupid kid. But
He should have known who Coach G was.
right, that's a great point. It's an institution. So I swear.
Maybe that's what it is. Sam's just a big radio file.
That might be what it is. He pulls me up. He's like, all right, now we'll preview. And God, Maryland was probably playing like Alcorn State or some S like that. I think it was a December game. They're like, all right, let's go out to Coach G. Hey, Coach G, big game tonight or something like that. And I was like, yeah. Then I swear to God, he said, how do you keep the kids ready for games like this? That are like the next question was very clearly, and I didn't know how to. 22. It's obvious that this person doesn't know who I am. I'm like, well, Jeff, that'll be for the coaching staff to worry about. God.
Did they figure it out? Did the coaching staff? Did the real Coach
I would
G?
assume- I don't think they lost to Alcorn State that
Okay.
night. If I remember whoever they were playing, I don't remember. This is would have been the winter of 2005, which I think ended up being the Maryland team that they snapped the
after-
NCAA tournament drought the NCAA tournament streak. Was that the year where it ended? That might have been the year where they ended their NCAA tournament streak, and they ended up playing in the NIT.
They went 19 and 13 overall.
Yeah, it was not a good. I think Chris McCray got booted off the team for being ineligible. Imagine how bad it has to be for you to be ineligible.
Tell me which one sounds right. Nichols State,
Might have been that.
Western Carolina.
Sure.
Boston College was 6th in the country.
Not only were they sixth in the country, but okay. So here's a funny bit.
They beat
I was
Boston
still a
College.
student at Maryland at the time, on
Uh-huh.
top of working in radio, and so it was a duality for your boy GC, Coach G, where I was like working some games, and then some games I was sitting with students and like having fun. The Boston College game was a game where I was sitting with students because I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't have to work that game. I had no responsibilities, so I was sitting in the student section for the Boston College game. And when the game ended, I want to say that was Troy Bell, who was the big star for Boston College at the time. When the game ended, a group of students, like everybody had decided, because Boston College was the number 6 team in the country, that they were going to, of course, rush the floor, right?
Yes.
Well, apparently most of them thought better of it and realized it was Boston College. So, like,
Is it Jared Dudley? No.
no, that would have been before Jared Dudley.
No, I think he will. That's what at least the box score says.
Really?
Yeah, it says it was Jared Dudley.
I would have bet against that.
Craig Smith was the leading scorer this night.
Was Troy Bell on that team?
I do not see Troy Bell unless he was hurt. Maybe
Yeah, it might be the case. It might be the Troy Bell. Oh, Troy Bell played at Boston College from. Oh no, he was before that, 99 to 2003. Take it back. All right, I was wrong. Anyway, there were like 20 of us that ended up on the floor, and then we were all like looking around, like, oh, I guess we're not doing this. So we sort of like, try to see if nobody noticed as we like slink back off the floor. No, we were never here. So that's the way it was. I don't know how we got into this path. Oh yeah,
now I'm realizing that is an ACC game too.
What's that?
I'm now realizing that was a conference game in December as well.
It was a early season conference game after Boston College joined the ACC.
Oh, they joined the ACC.
What?
They've just always been an ACC team to me.
Boston College was in the Big East until probably right about that time.
GW was 19 in the country.
If you say so, I don't know.
Apparently, they lost to.
We're spending way too much time.
GW in DC.
Way too much time on this topic.
What is that? They played at GW in DC.
They probably didn't play at GW. They almost certainly played that game at the Verizon Center as part of the.
Okay. Yeah, that looks right.
Whatever it was called, the BB&T Classic or whatever the hell they were calling the event.
Yeah, it was the BB&T Classic.
Well, it had different names. It was John Feinstein's event. It was a great event. There used to be massive teams that would play it, like Kansas. And, there was a big game against Stanford when Stanford was really good. UConn, the year that Maryland ended up playing UConn in the Elite Eight, they had met in the BB&T Classic earlier in the year. The BB&T Classic was phenomenal. It was outstanding. But it used to be a 2-day event. You would play like semifinals and final, and then it went down to like an invitational, and you'd only play one game. And then I'm pretty sure at the end it was just Maryland playing George Washington. Like that's all it was, and it was just not. There was nothing there at that point. But missed it because it was a great event. Anyway, what are we doing? Oh yeah,
I love a random trip to Temple in the middle of ACC play. Just at the end of January, they just went up to Temple.
Well, that wouldn't have been because they played Temple one year at the Palestra at the end of January. But I think that was the year. If I remember correctly, that was the year. That was the same weekend as the Lee Evans game. If I remember right, that was years later.
2010, 2011.
Yeah, I don't know if this one was also at the. Gary Williams loved playing at the Palestra. It was his affinity for college basketball, and he, of course, Gary's from Philadelphia, so like
they went up to Temple and lost.
That seems like something that would have happened. I mean, I don't know if you remember. If I told you that was a bad team. That was a team that missed the. What are we doing? God, Griffin.
Well, I mean, I'm just.
Stop it. We're supposed to be doing a show.
Boston College got their revenge in the ACC tournament.
How about that? I believe also that Maryland team might have lost to Clemson. No, it was what year did Maryland lose?
They lost to Manhattan in the NIT.
They did lose to Manhattan, but there's a complicated story behind that.
Okay, I love it.
The players involved. This was not the year that the streak ended the year before.
Oh, okay.
The streak ended the year before. This team wasn't good either, but the streak ended the year before because the team that ended the streak then turned around and made it to the NIT semifinals. They went to New York. But this team that lost to Manhattan, and I know this because I was working this day for ESPN Radio.
Nice.
I don't know why. They decided they needed coverage of Maryland, Manhattan.
Obviously.
I don't know if it was
a Saturday. It was 11 a.m. tip. They had to.
Oh, I remember. I don't know why I remember all these things well. I remember Debbie Yao going on about how, like, and this is back when they used to be great food. Like, they had this full breakfast spread put out. Like, they treated this NIT game like it was a real event. There was not many people there. But I had to do call-ins. I was the stringer for ESPN Radio that day. Calling into ESPN Radio to talk about the Maryland-Manhattan basketball game in the NIT. I have no idea why this was something happened. But I don't know, I guess because I was working for ESPN that day, I had like some special access, and I overheard before the game, and it became quite public afterwards, that there was discontent from the team about participating in the NIT that year. They didn't want to participate because there was a spring break trip planned. And there was a big deal made of they did not try in that game because if they had won, they would have had to have kept playing.
Travis Garrison did not get the memo.
Good for Travis.
He scored 21.
I believe the story was like they were supposed to be leaving the night before, so they only missed like 1 day of the spring break trip. But apparently, if they had won, they would have had to have played more games of the spring break trip.
DJ Strawberry and Mike Jones definitely said Cancun won
There
3.
was
They want to combine 7 for 24.
I don't know if it was Cancun. I don't know. I don't remember where the spring trip. This was very public knowledge. Like Maryland, there is a Maryland fan that's listening to this that knows this story well, and I've just kind of forgotten it over the years. But yeah, not a great effort put in for that. All right, God, Griffin, this was not acceptable. We were supposed to talk about the Orioles. We were supposed to.
They'll win the day. It'll be fine.
I hope so. I certainly hope that's the case. It would be interesting to see what Cade Povich has to offer. Yeah, Coco Gauff was up a break in the second. Now she's given it not only back, but she's given another break back, and looks like she's going to be out in 2 sets. And Iga Swiatek will be on to the French Open final, which is not surprising, but still a bummer. That would have been neat for Coco Gauff. But not over yet, I guess. We should point that out. All right, anyway. Last night, I don't have a ton to say. I'm surprised that Cedric Mullins was back in the lineup. I'm not surprised. I had convinced myself that needed to be a more significant respite. That needed to be, again, if you're talking about how to deal with the problem, and the first plan was, before we get to the more dramatic considerations, the first thought to me would be, hey, if you want to take this week and sit him down, a la Craig Kimbrell, it's maybe not a bad first idea. Give him a prolonged rest. Now, as I reminded when we brought that up the first time, I can't even remember who they played that week, but Craig Kimbrell actually did get up and was warming up in the week where he sat down.
It was after the Cincinnati series, right?
There was a game in that series where they had him warming up. And so it wasn't like...
It was also convenient because that was when they had the 2-game trip to Washington, so right after the Cincinnati series.
I mean, it might have been.
They had two off days, which helped.
Yeah, that certainly helps. There's no doubt, whereas the Orioles didn't have an off day this week. Whatever the thought process was, if this was about avoiding the more dramatic decisions, I would have preferred that Cedric Mullins sit for the entirety of the series. And I get that that's difficult. You know that the Orioles like to play matchups. You know that the Orioles, certainly if you're on the roster, you're going to get used. Like, that's sort of the way that it goes. But you really are on the cusp of, having to make a very significant decision. And I get it. There are measures. We keep talking about it. It could be a mental health IL stint. It could be, an option. None of this involves Cedric Mullins no longer being part of the organization. But you're approaching it. I would have liked to have seen this extend. Disappointed, it feels like the wrong word. Because he's on the team, if he's going to be on the team, you only have so many guys. I would have liked to have seen them give him a more significant reset. If that, again, as we talked about, if you wanted to use him as a pinch runner late in the game, a defensive replace, something like that, that's a different conversation. But a respite, I think that could have been 4 to 5 games intentionally before putting him back out there. They didn't do that. It's, of course, well within their rights, and perhaps in his heart of hearts, Brandon Hyde really does believe that Cedric Mullins is, on the cusp of figuring it all out. Or Mike Elias, whoever is involved in the decision-making process. But I think it's hard for the rest of us to join there.
I mean, of course, when he did get on base yesterday, he immediately scores.
Walking, and stolen base, the whole thing. I get it. But I don't think that's enough to continue to justify putting him back in the lineup and hoping for the best. A lot of consternation about the 9th inning last night. Runner on third, 1 out. yeah, it's easy to say that you should have walked Connor Falefa. I guess, as I said to a couple people who brought it up with me last night, in that scenario, I think you're supposed to walk the next two guys so that you can have an out at any base. Like, I think that's a force out at home plate, more significantly, is what I'm trying to say. That you don't want it to have to come down to a tag play at home plate. You want to set it up so that you could have a force out at home plate. And, of course, once there's a runner on third base, neither of the other two runners matter. So why wouldn't you just walk the next two guys? I think it's a reasonable criticism, or at least reasonable enough to question why it is that you wouldn't do that. I know, I not to defend it. So in that scenario, if you, let's just say you walk Connor Falefa. I believe they had used Clement as a pinch hitter, so he would have been up next. In my scenario, you're supposed to walk that guy too, and then you're getting back to the top of the order and Davis Schneider, who's not like a huge threat, but
he's having an okay year.
Yeah, he's having an okay year. So is Connor Falefa, for what it's worth. I probably still think that that's the best case scenario, but you gave up a fly ball. And if you give up a fly ball to Schneider, it makes no difference, or to Clement, is it Clement or Clement? I actually don't know. If you give up a fly ball to one of those guys, it makes no difference whether you walked one guy or walked both guys. A fly ball is beating you every time. So, sure, we can have a conversation about whether or not they should have walked one. I think they should have walked both. I think once you get into that point,
I'd be okay if they pitched to Clement, just because
you're hoping for the best, that he's just not.
Yeah, he's just not. It doesn't scare. I mean, David Schneider doesn't terrify you, but
I don't know that any of them terrify you in any way. I guess if you're going to walk one guy just to say, let's pick the guy that we want to face, now I got to think about it. What hand everybody is.
I think David Schneider's righty,
and not. So. I don't know their splits off the top of my head, and I don't know how that factored into the equation. Like, did they like Isaiah Connor Falefa's splits the most of those three options, or did they think that he was most prone to be struck out? Those are things that I'm not privy to. Like, did they know, hey, Isaiah Connor Falefa happens to strike out more frequently against right-handed? I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions.
He does, in fact. Although I guess, hold on, I got to calculate, the rate, because he faces lefties less than righties.
Okay.
He strikes out 20 times and 120 at-bats.
They weren't going to go get Kimbrel, so it doesn't really matter what his numbers are against lefties. It's just what are his numbers against righties.
He struck out 20 times and 127 at-bats against righties.
And then you'd have to compare that to me with, Clement or Clement. And I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was specifically. Yes, generically, I think once you're in that spot, you're supposed to walk the next two guys in order to set up a force out at home plate. That's like the baseball rule. You get into a spot like that, you don't want to have it be a tag play at home plate. Because if somebody's got to lay out to make the play, got to dive to stop the ball, then it's more difficult to make the throw in a place where you can get the tag. So just make a throw that all you got to do is have the catcher step on the plate, and you're good, and you've got that out. That's the way that I think. I feel like that's the baseball understanding. When the game's on the line, when one run is the difference, and there's a runner on third and less than two outs, you want that out to be a force out. And the other two runners don't matter at all. Now, the batters do to some extent. And if you can, get a terribly desirable matchup in the process, then go get your terribly desirable matchup, I guess. I just don't know that it ultimately matters because you lost on a fly ball. It's much easier to have this conversation if this is the difference, right? If the difference is Connor Falefa hit a ground ball and you tried to come home and you would have been out on a force out, but you weren't because you couldn't get the tag, then it's way easier to have this conversation and debate it and say, well, this is why you don't do that. But you lost on a fly ball. And you were always going to lose on a fly ball, no matter who the hitter was. If they gave up a fly ball, they were going to win. They did. That's life. I'm not trying to be trite about it. I kind of agree with you, but the result doesn't really back up that was the difference and why it is that you lost the game. Part of the difference in why you lost the game is because you just didn't score enough runs. You scored 2 in the second, and then you didn't score again. And as the game went on, you had fewer and fewer chances. There were way more empty innings as the game went on. You had some chances early. You didn't take advantage of them. You know, it's not like they didn't get anybody. They had 10 guys on base, 6 hits, 4 walks. But they didn't do enough offensively to win the game. You can't walk away from that and feel like you got robbed. The thing even on Sunday they only scored 3 runs.
For Mullins ever? Like, especially when they had the lefty, when they brought in, was it Garcia? Or Meza,
Meza.
Sorry.
Yeah, Meza was the lefty. Yeah, but there was nobody on, right? Like,
it was the lead off the inning.
Sure. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I don't remember if that was like, I remember Mullins tried to bunt in his first at bat. I don't remember if he tried to a bunt in that at bat. I don't think he did.
He ended up swinging, but
look, man, sure. You ultimately scored 2 runs. I don't know. You scored 2 runs. Give Albert Suarez a lot of credit. He's doing everything that he can for you. Gave you another 5 innings last night. Gave you a chance to win the game. He's certainly not dominant, but he is battling and has given you way more than you could have reasonably expected from Albert Suarez. So give him credit. But now it's, a pressure spot for Cade Povich to be put in for his major league debut. Not that it would be the end of the world if they just split the series and not win the series, but a little bit of a momentum moment at this point. A series that was not just promising, but was electric, and they were scoring 1 billion runs. For that to end up being a 4-game split would be a bit disappointing. How quick will they give Cade Povich a hook? How many pitches are they going to allow Cade Povich to throw? I don't think he's been throwing many. I was going to I didn't do the math to see if what his season high of pitches has been. Cade Povich, pull up the game log.
Let's see.
Cade Povich has. They don't even count. They don't even have a tally of number of pitches. Awesome. Super helpful. Thanks a lot. He's gone 6 a few times. Again, not knowing how many pitches he threw in those starts, but he's gone 6. Of course, he's coming off his worst start. Of course he would be. Of course he'd be coming off his worst start of the season. Yeah, I hope. But he's gone 6 innings in 3 of his last 6 starts, so I presume he's ramped up a little bit as the season's gone on. Heck of a spot. Because, again, right now we just think it's a spot start. But depending on what's going on with Kyle Bradish, man, who knows? Who knows? Today's show brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan and Eric Garfield will get together today to talk about Cade Povich and to talk about Connor Norby, who made his debut this week as well. That'll be after the Orioles game, so 5 o'clock today, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss it live, PressBoxOnline.com/video, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. When we come back in, we'll talk more about the Orioles pitching situation. Chelsea Janes from the Washington Post wrote about it this week. We'll check in with her next here on GCR. Yes.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook Facebook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, NBA Finals get underway tonight in Boston. Game 1 between the Mavericks and the Celtics. The best place to watch all of the action during the Finals is inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. It's the giant media wall. It's the great food and drink specials. And more than anything, it's the atmosphere. It's a place where, because everybody's got their action in at the FanDuel Sportsbook, everyone is living and dying over every shot. A bunch of people that aren't even inherently fans of either team become like mega fans and are freaking out. And you just can't get an atmosphere like that anywhere else. You go to a bar and like people are like, oh, yeah, right, basketball. Yeah, sure, cool. Not the way it is inside Sports and Social. So you got to be there. You can reserve a table right now by going to their website. Go to Live Casino and Hotel Maryland's website. Click on Sports and Social. You can reserve your table. You can reserve your blue reclining chairs just by stopping by maybe a little bit early in the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight, but there is nowhere better for tonight. Game 2 is Sunday night, and then hockey starts Saturday night. So during all of the finals over the course of the next couple of weeks, the best place to be is Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Real quick, the roster move was made this morning, and unfortunately, you kind of really feel for Nick Vespi, man. Like, what does this guy got to do? But that's the move. Presumably would reset his clock to 15 days, but of course, as we saw the last time, that could change because if someone else has to go on the IL, then you could bring him back at that point. You're certainly not rooting for that, but like, for example, unfortunately, if this thing with Kyle Bradish were to linger and that were to be the case, then maybe that could be how they get Nick Vespi back. But Nick Vespi does indeed get optioned as he makes way for Cade Povich's spot on the roster, at least for today. And then, of course, we will revisit this moving forward and see where they are. All right, before the Orioles play the Blue Jays in the series finale this afternoon, we will talk more about their pitching plight, as our next guest wrote about it. She, of course, covers Major League Baseball for the Washington Post. She is Chelsea Janes, and she is with us now here on GCR. Chelsea, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always good to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know there's kind of some irony as when you wrote about this was before there was even all the concern there is now about Kyle Bradish, right? Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he was, hey, you can lean on Kyle Bradish. Well, I don't know if they can. It's a weird spot, Chelsea, because I didn't want to over-dramatize the loss of John Means or Tyler Wells. You know, John Means unfortunately hasn't pitched a lot the last couple of seasons. Tyler Wells' role was not going to be back in the rotation, although, you know, given these other injuries, maybe it would have been. It was almost certainly going to be that he was going to move into the bullpen, but yet I think it was a reminder of exactly what you're writing about and how thin everyone is pitching-wise and how much of an epidemic this appears to be, that, like, hey, if you want to win a World Series, you might have to do the Dodgers method and have 8 to 9 starting pitchers available to you.
Yeah, it almost feels like that's the minimum. I mean, I remember the Rangers last year, you know, DeGrom on the IL, Scherzer was at half strength, you know, Eovaldi was there, and then, you know, they still got into, you know, all these names that you probably didn't know when the postseason started, because people just break, and you can't stop it. And I think, you know, with Means and Wells at the time, you're like, okay, they can do this. But they're in great position with their depth, and even they are starting to feel it. And it just shows you how much this is affecting, you know, not only individual teams, but sort of the outcome of seasons at this point.
So, Chelsea, I think it's, you know, look, if Kyle Bradish ends up being sidelined, then it's overwhelmingly obvious that they're going to have to address the starting pitching trade deadline. Even if Kyle Bradish only really does need a break right now and he's going to be fine, it's in part based on what they have, but really it's the reminder that, like, hey, injuries can happen after July 30th too, and then there is no ability to go trade for something. It feels to me more and more like they have to be proactive in that way, even if they're okay, and try to add more starting pitching before July 30th at this point.
I think so. And, you know, I think Bradish, even if he gets even if right now, like you said, he just needs a break, I just think anytime you get involved with UCL injuries, you're putting something off. You're not, you know, you're not avoiding it. You know, the surgery is coming. You know, you hate to say it, but it's coming. So I think, you know, you have to hope he can get through the year, obviously, but you can't plan for it. And I think they probably needed a 2-3 type guy at the deadline either way. And I think now you probably need 2 to 3 guys at the deadline. You know, you need to really invest there, and probably in the bullpen too, unfortunately. So they're not alone in that. And frankly, I can't think of a team that's better equipped to have the prospects to trade to get that kind of stuff. But it's something I'm sure they will prioritize, and it can't be Jack Flaherty. I think it has to be some bigger names that you really plan on riding in October.
She is Chelsea Janes, and she's with us here on GCR. It's interesting you bring that up because we got in that conversation yesterday, Chelsea, and I think it's twofold for me. It's one, are they at the place, you know, Flaherty on top of everything else was a rental, right? It was a cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
Are they at a place now where they are so good and so close that if it's a high-level rental, they can do that, or do they still need to be looking for pitchers that they would have some control over? I've brought up, you know, only because we know the White Sox are a team that's going to continue dealing. I don't know about Crochet only because I'm not sure he's got the innings in him to get through the end of the year, and that makes it more complicated. But Fetty in particular, because he's pitched well and because you know you have him for another year after this year, provided that you're going to lose Burns and, you know, John Means might be gone too, it seems like Fetty would be the type of pitcher that would make a fair amount of sense for what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think someone like Fetty, who is also at a pretty low cost. I mean, he's going to cost you something, but not a ton. And no character concerns thus far, no health concerns. I think that's the kind of guy they should look at. But even, you know, it's so hard to tell what's going to be available. You know, it's such a fluid situation, as Mike Elias said, that, you know, maybe there are some bigger names you can chase that have control. Maybe you can, you know, the prospects are just so good for the Orioles that they can probably make things happen and think about things that others can't. But is, like, say, a Justin Verlander someone that you target for 1 year? I don't know. For a few months, is that worth it? With a team that you know is going to be there again and again? I don't know. But I think, you know, they'll probably have to and will be shooting high. But a guy like Fetty makes a lot of sense. Some of the Marlins arms make a lot of sense. And then you kind of just see who decides they're selling and try to get what you can.
With the, of course, the other side of it being that literally all of the teams that are good are all going to be in the pitching market because, as you point out, they all need to have 9, 10 pitchers, something like that.
Yes.
Chelsea, as you bring that up, have you gotten a sense for it? There's been a lot made over, hey, to this point, Mike Elias has largely tried to hold on to all the top guys. Like the moves they've made, they've dealt from more the secondary group. Joey Ortiz has probably been the most significant prospect that they've dealt, who's obviously having a very nice season in Milwaukee, but they've largely dealt from that next tier. Have you gotten a sense as to like whether or not they believe they're at the point where it might be time to deal from, a higher group, the Connor Norbys of the world? The funny thing, of course, being that a lot of these guys have either already gotten to the major leagues or are at the major leagues, but like Heston Kjerstad, that if that's what it takes, they're willing to go ahead and make the bold moves now because they know how close they are.
It's hard to say. There's just no precedent for them doing that. And one of the things I found interesting is like the Yankees have this reputation for kind of hiding prospects, right? Like they'll hype them up and then they kind of won't debut them and they'll try to trade them before they show you exactly what they are at the big league level. The Orioles have not been afraid to put guys in the big leagues. And I think that's, a testament to the quality of the guys they've got, but they're running them out there, and Norby getting a chance, it really only leaves like Mayo and guys of that ilk. I don't think Holiday is on the table, but some of these guys that are still in the minors, for the most part, teams are getting to see these guys. So it is, I think we've been kind of seeing for years this crunch coming where they've got so many good prospects. They're going to have to decide who they believe in and who they don't. And I think, this is finally that time. They're getting a look at all of them against big league pitching. And I think a Kjerstad level guy is probably someone they should consider parting with because, while they're not top tier guys in their system, they're top tier guys in pretty much anyone else's system. And when do you have the opportunity to kind of part with top prospects and say, we're fine. They're in a great spot, and I think they need to take advantage of it.
Does it feel like this is all being complicated too, Chelsea, by like the situation they have with their veteran outfielders, where Mullins is struggling miserably. Hayes at the moment kind of looks like he might just be a platoon player. Anthony Santander is still impactful, but as a free agent at the end of the season, like, does it feel like that situation is complicating because in the next 2 years, you're going to need some of these guys to be your future outfields?
Right. Yeah. And I'm curious to see what they do with some of those guys. I mean, Santander, if I'm in a playoff race, he's an appealing piece. A switch hitter with power. I mean, is that someone they can get someone to take? And then they're saving money. And, I don't know. I think they are blessed and cursed with just a tremendous number of options. I don't worry that much about Mullins. I feel like it's a matter of time. He hasn't been this bad in recent memory, and he's a really good player who's done a lot for them. Like, do you bet on him figuring it out over, a top prospect out there that you haven't seen do it? Probably. But they're just in this crazy roster crunch. And I think one thing Mike Elias has been good about is saying, there's no precedent for what we're doing. There was no precedent for Jackson Holiday. There's no playbook for this. And I think this is the year, and these are the next few months, where they're going to have to make a lot of the decisions that they've been careful not to make too early. And, I think they'll be emotionally challenging and also, things they'll look back on in the years to come as either, great decisions or ones that, they wish they had made different choices with.
Yeah, it's by the way, what you say about Santander too, I know it's very much like the Tampa Bay Rays way of doing business, right? Like that.
Yeah.
When you've got someone that you do have value, use that. Like, use the value of that player, and if you're going to be trading away from your farm system, maybe at the exact same time try to restock it a little bit by using a veteran that you have to go get young players. And it's tough because I think everybody's hoping that David Rubenstein will just be the guy that say, no, I'll spend money in order to restock things.
Right.
But we don't know yet exactly how that's going to play out, and he has done a great job of keeping it close to the vest. Chelsea, to get back to the topic of pitching injuries, we remember earlier this year the back and forth that the Players Association and the league had, where the Players Association wants to blame the pitch clock. The league says, no, we've got all this data, nothing that suggests that the pitch clock is the problem. In reporting, have you gotten a sense of whether that's going to continue to be a bigger fight, whether there is validity to the position of the Players Association, or is this just sort of the nature of we've learned that when you violently throw a baseball and, contort your body in this way, it's going to lead to injuries. There's nothing that can be done about it.
Yeah, I mean, so on the pitch clock front, I think we had a data guy at the Post who kind of ran the numbers since the pitch clock came in and didn't find any, correlation between guys whose times between pitches went down and who got injured. It didn't seem like there was a clear line there. Like they're rushing and they're taking less time between pitches, so now they're hurt. That wasn't something that played out. Actually, in talking to Cole Irvin the other day, I was asking him about this, and he had this theory that, okay, the pitch clock is one thing, but it's also making innings shorter, so you have less time between when you're on the mound and off the mound to kind of rest. I don't know. I think, everybody's got a theory. Max Scherzer will tell you it's because there's no sticky stuff, so they're having to grip this slippery ball, and, that's putting stress on the forearm. Maybe that's part of it, but I think ultimately it is sort of the latter. It's like, if we are going to prioritize velocity at the level that we do, people are going to break. And I don't know what has changed that has accelerated that breaking the way we've seen, but I think it's a lot of things. But the number one thing seems to be that, if you throw hard, you get paid. And so everyone's trying to throw hard. And with that, there are only so many arms that can take it. And I think we're seeing people just kind of try to figure out how to deal with that reality when it seems like the only solution is just to, plan for injuries and trust Tommy John and come back a year and a half later. It's brutal.
Well, it doesn't seem like I know that it's complicated by how long maybe some of these guys waited on the market, but it's not like it seems like it's completely depressed the pitching market either, right? Like it seems like the teams know, hey, this is part of the solution, or part of the problem anyway. But we still have to have pitchers, so we're kind of have to deal with this.
Yeah. Nobody's figured it out. I mean, I remember talking to when the Dodgers ran out of pitching in 2021 in the playoffs. Walker, Max Scherzer got hurt. Buehler led to his Tommy John eventually. But I remember asking Andrew Friedman the year after, like, you guys thought you had plenty of pitching last year. Like, did you? Like, were you wrong? And he's like, I've just learned you can't have enough. You will never have enough. And I think watching the Diamondbacks and Rangers work through bullpen games in the World Series, like, you just can't do it. It's brutal. So, I think the thing about the Orioles that makes them sort of uniquely equipped to handle this is they're really good at developing pitching and kind of finding diamonds in the rough. They make people better. So at least when you're scouring the market, you can kind of count on that person being as good or better as they were elsewhere. But it's tough, and it's going to change the way the season goes. It's like, who can survive, and that's who wins.
It's so funny. Like, my reaction the other day when the Orioles pick up Julio Teheran is like, whatever, fine. It's a minor league deal. How can anyone possibly care about this? But, like, it's also, I'm being dismissive of it when, like, my God, how dismissive were we of Suarez, right? Like, how –
right.
I don't think there's any reason to think that Julio Teheran is going to be helpful for the Orioles this year. But, like, if there's a team that maybe is capable of figuring out a guy – that doesn't look like he could be helpful, that somehow ends up becoming helpful, maybe the Orioles have enough of a track record now to think that they might be the team that's capable of finding that guy.
Totally. I think they've proven that they can fix people offensively and on mound, which is huge and will save them a lot of money if they continue to do it well. But that's kind of their best thing right now is, like, they can find the same guys as other teams and make something out of them. So if that continues, they'll be well equipped to kind of weather this injury epidemic, but they won't be untouched, obviously.
No doubt about it. All right, Chelsea_Janes is how you follow her. And of course, the Washington Post, WashingtonPost.com, and we will retweet or link up her story about the Orioles on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio. Chelsea, is there anything else we can plug for you?
No, thank you. That was great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time for us, and let's talk again real soon, all right?
Yes, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Chelsea Janes covers baseball for the Washington Post. Appreciate her taking the time. And again, like, we agree, substantially about the Orioles need to be in the starting pitching market. If the Kyle Bradish thing is, even if it's a short IL stint, I think that will become extraordinarily loud in the coming weeks. Even if he doesn't, even if Kyle Bradish pitches this weekend in Tampa, my position will remain the same. The Orioles need to be in the starting pitching market. To Chelsea's point, knowing exactly, it's easy for us to talk about the White Sox pitchers because we know the White Sox are not going to be in it. The White Sox have already dealt from their pitching. They don't appear to have any plan for any time soon, so that's an easy team to target. It just so happens to be that as bad as they are, they have a couple of pitchers who have been good this season. So it's easy to look at them. But who else is going to end up being in this conversation? It's harder to figure out. As to the point, where are we with the Astros? A couple weeks ago, I would have told you, everything's turned around. The Astros are right back in it. They're the Astros again. But that hasn't really been the case. Like, it hasn't been a rocket ship. They've just been better than their miserable start was. Where are we with the Diamondbacks? It's a more complicated. Those teams could be sellers or they could still be buyers. They could still be your competition. Astros lost Javier this week, right? Tommy John. So it's hard to figure out and sort of decipher that. We can only talk about the teams that we know are that we have reason to believe will be willing to sell pitchers. Earlier this year, it looked like the Athletics had some pitchers. Remember when the Orioles faced the Athletics and we were looking at like Sears and Blackburn, and we were like, man, these guys are off to great starts. I think both of them have ERAs back up over 4 at this point.
I think Sears is like right around 4. He's had a couple good starts still of recent, but yes, every now and then he'll get knocked around. Blackburn is I think he's been hurt or he's like been on the IL a couple times now or something.
Sears is 401. Yeah,
okay.
401 at the moment. Which again isn't like that doesn't take him out of the conversation, but does it set you up that you're acquiring another Jack Flaherty? And that, to Chelsea's point, you don't want to do Flaherty again.
Blackburn has a stress something in his foot, and he's out until at least mid-July.
Well, then it seems far less. By the way, I was kind of being dismissive of him to begin with, but yes, add to the dismissiveness of it because of that.
You stick with the bullpen though, and
what's that?
Stick with the bullpen in Oakland though, and
of course.
Look at Ursig and
Ursig is the one that seems to be realistic. It doesn't seem like Mason, unless again,
the guy Adams
unless the situation in Oakland is so poisonous that they just get to a point where they're like, dude, we're not winning anything with this guy anytime soon. We just got to get whatever we can. And that's the part that, like, as much as I've continued to say, hey, stop talking about Mason Miller, it's not happening with Mason Miller, they have no reason to trade him. I will tell you, there was a lot of disingenuousness yesterday on the internet about the Athletics. And far be it for me to be the one to defend the Athletics. But this story that was going around that was being reported as the Athletics are asking to play 10% of their home games away from Las Vegas is bull S. And a lot of people picked it up. This is the thing now. This is what we do. We miss fact in favor of thing that fortifies us. It's the, Dr. Fauci said he made everything up. No, that's not what was said. Something was said that was about that topic. It was nuanced. It required conversation. The person that you get your information from has no interest in having a nuanced conversation, so they simply reported it as such or passed it along as such, and now you've accepted it as fact. It's WNBA players are jealous of Caitlin Clark. Well, that's no one. That's you've made that up. You've inferred that and decided it's fact. It ain't fact. Similarly, this story about the Oakland Athletics, or whatever Athletics, Sacramento Athletics, the Oak Sac Vegas Athletics,
Los Oakland, or
whatever you want to call them, the team that can't have a city connect because they have no city to connect with.
Pacific A's.
Yeah, the Pacific Time Zone A's. Yeah. Yes, the Pacific Time Zone A's. in their lease negotiations with Nevada or Las Vegas, whoever it is, the county, I'm not sure, are putting in a provision that would allow for them to play up to 7 home games elsewhere, should they be invited to participate in the Little League Classic, the Field of Dreams, the London Series, the Mexico Series. As you know, because you have a brain, no team is going to play 7 games like that during the course of a season. But putting in a provision to the lease to allow for it, should whatever happen, in order to make sure there isn't a legal issue, makes sense. What it isn't is them asking. We don't want to play all of our games here. We would like the right to go take a series, and move it to Salt Lake City. That's not what is in this provision. Now, the 7 seem a bit gratuitous. Like, there's no way that's going to happen, so why does it need to be? Sure, and that's for Nevada and the A's and whoever they're negotiating with. They can figure that out. But in some, if baseball continues with these things, the way that we're not far away from the NFL having every team play at least one neutral site game per year. We're just not that far away from it if they're going to continue to do Brazil and Germany and wherever the next one's going to be. Like, we can't be that far away from there being 16 different international or neutral site games. I mean, how many is it this year? 7?
Is it, there's 2 in Germany, or is it 3 in Germany? 3 London and 2 Germany? Or
man, I don't remember.
It might be 7, yeah.
Hang on, 2024 NFL International Series. 2024 NFL International Games. Now, apparently it's only 5.
Oh, okay.
I oversold it. They're doing the 1 Brazil. They're doing 1, 2. Only 2 London and 2 Germany? Is that what it is?
I see 3 London.
3 London.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 London. Sorry, 3 London, 1 Brazil, 1 Germany. But I don't think it's going back the other way. Like, I don't think that number is going to go down. I think they're going to continue to look for markets where it makes sense for them. And maybe next year is the NFL Paris, and the year after that it's the NFL Italy, and
apparently they want to do Madrid next year.
Oh, I did hear. Yeah, 100% we had heard Madrid. So the likelihood is that number goes up. And if the Athletics in their negotiating are saying, hey, if similarly baseball continues to have this go up, we don't want to lock ourselves into 30 years where there's no flexibility for us. And apparently it came up that there is a similar provision in the Orioles lease that was just agreed to. I don't know what the actual number of games, but it's a similar provision to just make sure that, much like the Orioles when they had the opportunity to go play in Williamsport a couple years ago, that they don't end up having – it's got to be protected. We have the right to lose home games and not pay a penalty because we're working with baseball, and baseball decides they want us to participate. If the Orioles win the World Series this year, then next year it might very well be that, say, Orioles-Yankees is the series they want in London. If that's the case, you can't go back and say, oh, now we've got to pay, millions of dollars to the state because we didn't work that out in the lease. So this thing with the Athletics is reported like, this is embarrassing. The Athletics are moving to Vegas. They don't even want to play their games in Vegas. No. They're putting a provision in the lease in order to protect themselves should they get these opportunities to play in these, whatever the baseball calls them, marquee events, showcase events, whatever they call these things. But this is where we are. One person says the Athletics are trying to get out of playing games in Vegas, and then the entire internet says the same thing. Instead of actually doing the work and figuring out what's there and understanding why, no, this makes sense. I hate defending the Athletics. I hate that. They're scum.
What did they do to you?
Their owner sucks.
Well, yeah, that. But
like, I can't just
have a
traipse
fan
into
base.
fantasy.
Yeah.
No, I'd feel terrible for them. I do. I think there's an event this weekend, an anti-ownership rally or something like that to support the Athletics, if I remember correctly. I don't care, but, I say all this to say, is it possible that, like, it's such a poisonous situation with the Athletics? They're like, dude, we're not going to be trying to win in Sacramento. Like, the argument we're making is they don't have to trade him. They can hold on to him. And that's why they're going to be asking for an ungodly amount. But in their minds, it might be, dude, if we hold on to him, have you seen how this works out with relief pitchers? He could be the next one that needs elbow surgery next year. And now, when we had the opportunity to trade him for as much as we could get, now we've lost that opportunity. I don't know. But I just don't think it's going to be Mason Miller. All right, that didn't require as long as I'm sure I'm the only person that cares about making sure we get the facts straight on the Athletics thing. Everybody else on the Internet's more than happy to just go along with, they don't even want to play their games in Vegas. They're trying to move them elsewhere.
No, I see what you're doing, because the A's are going to see, that's a respectable, Baltimore radio program.
What's that going to do for me?
Let's break a deal for Mason Miller.
Oh, you think this is going to help?
It's a good town over there.
I thought you were trying to see if I could position myself to be the Sacramento A's play-by-play voice.
I guess.
I don't know how I feel.
A lot of boring games, maybe.
Living in Sacramento.
You ever been to Sacramento?
I have never spent a moment in Sacramento in my life. Not a fleeting moment. I've never flown in. I have never stepped foot anywhere in the Sacramento area.
Got a AAA ballpark.
They do. That's where they're going to be playing. Playing major league games at their AAA ballpark. Where's their AAA? You know what? Nope. Don't
Sacramento.
care. Don't care. It's the River Cats, maybe? Does that sound? I feel like it's something like that.
Yep.
River Cats?
River Cats.
Look at this guy.
Give me
another one. Quiz me on another one.
Go Cats. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah. I'm hot, baby. Let's see. We'll do fighting words.
Let's do. How about the Akron team? You should know that one.
Why should I know that one?
Because they play Bowie all the time.
Oh, well, I said AAA.
Oh, you want AAA teams?
That's what I said.
Fine.
But hang on, the Akron team is it's like on the tip of my tongue, and I don't want to commit to it because I'm going to ruin my perfect score. You know what I mean?
Right, fine.
No. Let me think through it for a second. I have a name. I'm writing it down what I believe the name to be. It's the Rubber Ducks, right?
It is the Akron Rubber Ducks.
All right, thank God.
Well done. God. We do know. You should know Charlotte.
The Knights.
Yes. What's their affiliate?
They're the White Sox.
Yeah, they are the White Sox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sugarland.
Skeeters, the Sugarland Skeeters. Well, then they changed their name. They
end.
definitely were the Sugarland Skeeters.
That does sound right.
100% they were the Sugarland Skeeters. What did they become? The Space
Cowboys?
Cowboys?
They have become the Space Cowboys.
I do think I remember seeing that. But they definitely 1,000% until when did they change their name?
It had to be recently because the Skeeters does sound.
It was definitely
pretty
that
familiar.
long ago.
The AA team there is Corpus Christi.
I don't know. I have no idea.
They're the Hooks.
Corpus
Christi Hooks.
Sure.
They got their hat is a hook where he's holding the baseball bat.
All right. When did the Skeeters become the Space Cowboys? 2020. 2020 is when they switched from the Skeeters to the Space Cowboys.
Columbus, Ohio.
They're the Clippers.
They are the Clippers.
Yeah.
Salt Lake.
The Bees.
Rocket City.
Trash Pandas. You think I don't know the Trash Pandas?
I had to make sure. Las Vegas currently.
Oh God. Because
So
they
does
were.
that mean they're going to go to Oakland to be the AAA?
That's a good question. I don't know what the plan is for that because they just
trade
built
places?
like a ballpark. It's the Aviators. I want to say
the Aviators,
and it was something else not that long. That's another one that changed recently.
Yeah. Were they? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
Oh, I love their high A team, Lansing.
Lugnuts.
They're the
Yeah,
Lugnuts.
they are.
Lansing Lugnuts.
Yeah, they are.
One
more.
Toledo.
The Mud Hens.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. The Mud Hens. This guy.
Omaha.
This guy. Piss.
Got a TV show.
Storm Chasers.
Yeah.
Storm
Omaha
Chasers.
Storm Chasers.
Mm-hmm.
The how about Quad City? That's the high A team for the Royals.
You can't make me do high A.
Quad Cities River Bandits.
I might have known that.
How about Tacoma?
Well, they used to just be the Mariners. Is it the Rainiers?
It is the Rainiers.
Okay.
Yes. Just because I like the name. The High A, it's Everett, so Everett, Washington, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Aquasox.
Oh, I like that, actually. That's a good name.
Yeah, the Aquasox.
Not quite as good as Flying Boxcars, but
No, it isn't. Round Rock.
Express?
Round Rock Express. Ooh, Frisco. There's a double-A team for Texas, but Frisco.
I feel like they were the Grizzlies.
They are the Rough Riders.
Rough Riders.
Maybe they were the Grizzlies. Hickory Crawdads.
Maybe it's the Fresno Grizzlies that I'm thinking of. Maybe that's what it is.
You should
All
know
right, come on, man.
Gwinnett.
We got to take a break.
All right.
One more.
Okay, hold on. Let me find a good one. Okay,
End on a good one.
Jacksonville.
Oh, the Jumbo Shrimp. You think I don't know the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp? Get the entire F out of here with that.
Albuquerque.
Isotopes. Dog. What we doing?
What happened to so Oklahoma City, what were they before? It's the OKC baseball club now.
I think they were the Dodgers, if I remember correctly.
They are the Dodgers AAA team.
I know. I think they were the Oklahoma City Dodgers, if I remember. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I
El Paso.
don't know.
Chihuahuas.
Oh, you know what? I did know that. Damn it. All right, come on. We got to go. We got to grab a break.
All right.
Come back in. We'll do a brief version of Fighting Words. Then
going in my own time.
Yeah, you did this to yourself. Then we'll make a trip to Bowie to chat with Anthony Servideo. That's on the way. Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCRs. Continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. And on Thursdays, we allow Griffin the opportunity to venture into the world that he cares about. It's time for Fighting Words.
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
Fighting Words is brought to you this week by the print issue of PressBox, which is still available for not that much longer. Get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Luke Jackson's cover story about Grayson Rodriguez that you heard Jim Palmer putting over on the broadcast a couple weeks ago. Go get that now before it is gone forever. Locked away in the vault, key thrown away. You'll never be able to see it again.
Is that what's going to happen?
No, it's not the case at all. If you ask nicely, I'll go get you one. But still, assume that's the case and go get it today at your neighborhood Royal Farms. All right.
302 was this past weekend. Islam Makhachev.
Yeah. It's a hell of a...
It was it was a pretty boring card.
It's not just that.
Islam Dustin. I wasn't even going to address that.
What is your existence? What is the purpose of your company anymore? Like, a very weird bit.
Islam submitted Dustin Poirier in round 5. It was a great fight. I think it lived up to my expectations. Like, Poirier was in it. I mean, Islam was winning the fight, so even if it had gone to decision, Islam was going to win and retain the lightweight title. But it was a great fight. Like, Dustin was landing and he was cutting up Islam. He might have won a round or 2 in there. I think he only probably won 1 round. But I mean, it was just a great fight. It was a Dustin Poirier fight. Like, it was entertaining and it was a really fun fight. And Islam ended up choking him out late in the fight. In what was overall a very boring card, which was somewhat predictable. But I mean, there was 12. Oh, I'm sorry. There was 12 fights. Oh, why am I bad at counting? Yeah, 12 fights. Only 3 had finishes in them, so there was a lot of decisions, and the judges were not good either. So it was just kind of a mess of a card. My parlay did hit, so that felt good.
Now you got that going for you.
Yes, so that felt good. Sean Strickland beat Paulo Costa, and again, it was a 5-round fight. It went to decision. It was pretty boring. Kevin Holland broke a guy's arm. So
that's a thing.
Yeah, that was cool. That happened quickly. But yeah, Holland got the win. Islam got the win. Jailton Almeida, and then Bazil Hafez was the other end of that parlay. Randy Brown also got a win, who I said you could add onto your parlay if you wanted a little more juice. But they all won. I mean, the big takeaway is obviously Islam winning, and then he said he wants to go up to 170 and challenge Leon Edwards, assuming he continues his run as the welterweight champion. I guess so. Like, it's, Islam has done a pretty good job of wiping out this lightweight division. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Islam is clearly the best 155er. He's the pound for pound number 1 as well. So those are kind of the big takeaways. Nothing really bombastic, I guess, happening this past weekend.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So then big news though on Monday. That the UFC 303 presser was canceled. This is Connor.
This is supposed
Chandler.
to be Connor Chandler, right?
And there's really nothing much about it has come out. Like, Connor tweeted an apology later on Monday and just said basically, sorry, but I can't wait to be in the octagon. So like right now, it doesn't seem like the fight is in any jeopardy of falling through. Ariel Helwani said the general sense is that the fight will happen, but it's just kind of more.
But did I see like that Jake Paul was trying to throw himself into? I swear to God, I saw like a tweet that suggested that like Jake Paul was trying to make it seem like he was in the conversation somehow, because now we're kind of assuming the Jake Paul Mike Tyson thing's not happening.
It's definitely I don't think it's unless so if we go to that Mike Tyson's going to have to pull out. Netflix said that they're going to postpone unless they want to. None of the replacement rumors have really any officialness to them, but like Darren Till, his name has been thrown out there to step in and box Jake Paul. Roy Jones Jr.
Go right ahead
to box Jake Paul, and so they can keep that date. But yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do there.
The announcement was that they still wanted to do the Jake Paul-Tyson thing.
Yeah.
It's just going to have to be later on in the year.
Correct. Which is...
Sure, maybe it could still happen.
Yeah, like...
It would seem to me like if a 57-year-old man is having a medical emergency on a plane, then like probably doesn't need to be even doing a fake boxing match. And
I think they would have boxing
anyone involved should have been ashamed of themselves to begin with, but particularly after that, like, Jesus Christ. So... It seemed like in the aftermath of the Connor thing that Jake Paul was trying to get attention. Like, I don't know. Everybody's asking me. I don't think anybody asked. I don't remember hearing one person ask a question about Jake Paul and what the Connor thing could have to do with him. It's whatever.
It is. I mean, yeah, it is. It really is just kind of whatever. I'm not sure what their plan is going to be moving forward. But it seems like I don't know. They're just not. I guess because there were other fights on that card, so I'm not sure what their plan will be. It's obviously not going to be.
The point being, like, if you wanted to try to have someone else step in to fight Jake Paul, you could do it, but you're not going to do it inside Cowboys Stadium. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to get 80,000 people to show up to watch.
Unless they get Nate Diaz or.
I still don't think. Like, that was being. Mike Tyson was the justification for that. First of all, there is no justification for it. But even in an exhibition sense, it was you're playing off Mike Tyson's celebrity in order to, like, make that happen. They did a stadium for the Floyd Mayweather nonsense, whatever that. Like, that was also I think that was in the Miami Stadium, if I remember correctly.
That was the Logan in Florida.
It was Logan?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Because that one was an exhibition. So
they're all, my God.
Well, these
they can say
fights.
They're stop. This is like.
I don't know what you want me to do. Other than
it's a sham, and we have to say out loud that it's a sham, and all of it is a sham. This is the thing where, like, fact doesn't matter anymore, and we just all we say things like, well, the Athletics are not trying to play their games, and like, this is it's all a sham. They couldn't. That level of Roy Jones is not a level of celebrity that you can pull that off in, Cowboy Stadium. You could do it in the arena in Dallas. Like, that would be an option if you wanted to do that. Or I don't know how big that old baseball stadium's still there in Arlington. I don't know what they use it for the XFL, right?
Oh, is that what they do?
Doesn't the XFL team play in the old baseball stadium? I don't know how many people you could put in there, but you could not fill Cowboy Stadium for a Jake Paul, Roy Jones. I get that we're a very sad place in our nation's history, and we will do a lot of dumb things. But still, you can't do that. That won't work.
I think you're right. Yeah. So Netflix, I guess Netflix will be scrambling. We'll see what happens. Gable Steveson is joining the Bills. Is how much of a sham is that?
I mean, it's no more of a sham than when Brock Lesnar got a tryout with the Vikings. It's a tryout.
He's never played football before.
I understand that. It's a tryout. We have to, it's important that we continue to say it that way. It would be one thing if they were giving a roster spot to Gable Steveson. That would be, that's where it starts going down like the CM Punk and the UFC thing. It's a tryout. Anybody's allowed, they can do whatever they want with their 90 roster spots. 90 guys aren't making the team. You want to give one of them to see if this physical freak, Ronaldo Nehemiah played football after he, ran track. Fine. Giving someone who's never played football before a roster spot would be a sham. Giving someone a spot on a
who's an athlete,
yes, fine. Is it still embarrassing? Yeah, it's still a little embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
It's a little embarrassing.
It's June and you're in.
Yes, but someone else is more qualified. There is. Even at the 90, there's someone more qualified. But this is the time to be embarrassed. I mean, the Mets let Tim Tebow run around and pretend like he was a baseball player for a little while.
He was a baseball player.
Thank you.
A couple tanks, I believe.
Yeah, I did. I went out to Hagerstown and watched Tim Tebow play baseball once.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
You've been
validated.
It's not something that I wanted to do. That was a Patrick Stevens.
Well, yeah, seems like Patrick has taste. It's good.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Deontay Wilder got knocked out by Zayli Zhang in the 5th round in their boxing match last week.
It's just over. It's just
probably.
over.
I mean, if he wants to fight, he could.
He's still enough of a he's still enough of a name that he'll continue to. But yes, it's the bloom is way gone from that rose.
I think the only other boxing thing really, Tank is fighting Frank Martin. That'll be next week in Vegas on Amazon pay-per-view.
Yep.
So we will we'll dive into that more next
week. Talk about it next week.
We have UFC Louisville this weekend. It's a pretty good card. I like it a lot. There's quite a few dogs I like on the card. I don't think I have a parlay for you, but I like the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez.
Okay.
I do like Cannonier in the main event, and
yeah, he's got to answer the phone because Anthony Servideo calling in, so we'll let him do that. But that's I think that's on UFC or on ESPN. I don't believe that's just. I think it's also on ESPN Plus, but I don't believe you have to have an ESPN Plus subscription. That card on Saturday is on. They tend to do this in the summer because now NBA and Stanley Cup Finals will all be on ABC. So ESPN kind of needs the content. So Saturday night will be all fights. It'll be the ESPN card and then or the UFC card, and then it'll be a top rank
there's
card
a top rank as well
afterwards. So hopefully on that top rank card they'll get all the names of the fighters right. Hopefully they'll remember.
It's in I think it's at MSG, or not MSG, but it's in where is it? Shoot.
Wherever. It's in America.
It's in the
you're
States.
saying, so
Yeah.
there's maybe less of a chance of them butchering who won the fights.
Yes.
All right, very good. That's fighting words for this week. Thank you, Griffin. Let's make our weekly trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. It's been a little while since we caught up with Anthony Servideo, who is back with us now here on the program. Anthony, it's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Anthony, you know what's really fun? I swear to God, your grandfather's name comes up on this show more frequently. We do a segment at the end of the show every day that's like a tid, and every time a young Orioles player does something, and Griffin says to me, like, and who are the last 3 Orioles to have done this before 23? I'm now at a place where, like, his name is the first name that I guess because I just know somehow he's on every list.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Right?
That's cool.
For those that don't know, of course, Anthony's grandfather's Kurt Blefrey. Anthony, you know, I know that coming in, that when you were drafted, there was a lot made about your defense. I'm going to guess that at this point in your pro career, you'd probably say, yeah, but I'd like the bat to be a little bit more than what it's been so far. How do you handle hey, I want to be a guy that's known for his defense versus, but I'd still like the offense to be a little bit more maybe advanced than where it is right now?
Yeah, I mean, coming in, you know, like you said, my defense has been solid, and I've been known for that. You know, in college, I played a little bit of outfield and a little bit of infield, so it's nice to have that in the bag. And you know, the bat, you know, it's a tough game. And to the start of my pro career, you know, it hasn't been the smoothest sailing, but you know, just gotta work at it every day. You know, hitting is tough, and you just gotta find a rhythm, find a groove, and you know, it's a long season, so it can't ride the lows too low and the highs too high.
I certainly. Do you start now that it's been, you know, of course you're drafted in 2020. Now that you're a little bit deeper in, and certainly having played in college, is it tough to not like press? Is it tough to remind yourself like, hey, you know, trust the process, if you will. Don't try to force this.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But you know, then again, once you start forcing things, that's when things go wrong.
Right.
You know, you just got to remind myself that, you know, I'm here for a reason. I belong here, and just stay the course.
How happy, you know, we talk about the defense, right? Like, have you felt like that has taken steps forward even from college? Like, do you feel like you're a more complete defensive player at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now this year that I'm playing a little bit of third base. You know, I had never played third base in my life until this year. It's actually funny. Like, one of the last few days before we broke spring training, they're like, all right, we're going to put you at third base. And I'm like, all right, this will be new, but, you know, I'll be over there. I'll go over there. I'll catch it. I'll throw it. So it's been fun adjusting at third base. You know, I think the only thing it can really do is help me, you know, being able to play different infield positions. You know, I think that definitely benefits me. And so it's been fun, you know, playing third base, different angle, no time to think over there, you know, just got to react, but it's been fun.
What is the biggest, you know, it's so you bring up a different angle. Like, what do you, would you show up the first day like, okay, I'm just playing, I'm doing the same stuff at a different position? Do you have to like run through specific unique drills? Like, what really does it look like to make that kind of move?
So the main thing that I've learned is the reaction of it all. You know, you don't have a lot of time to think of what you're going to do or your footwork or things like that. You know, you just see the ball and react. And a big thing at third base is fielding the ball with one hand. So I've been working on that a lot. And just, you know, the timing of it and the throw's a little bit different, not as long and kind of a different angle. But, yeah, the main thing I would say is the one-arm fielding.
Yeah, that's is that easy? Is it something that, like, once you do it once, you sort of say to yourself, like, okay, yeah, sure, I can do this?
I mean, I wouldn't say the right word is easy,
okay.
But, you know, it's not too bad, you know. You know, playing short, I feel like I have pretty good hands, and so moving over to third base hasn't been too hard for me.
He is Anthony Servideo, the Bowie Baysox. He is with us here on GCR. Anthony, I guess let's go back for a second to the approach at the plate, right? Do you, when you have a stretch, and I know at the beginning of the season you had a pretty good stretch to start off, when you have a stretch, are you the type of person, like I guess maybe superstition, are you the type of person that says, hey, let me keep doing this, let me keep doing this? Are you tinkering when you go through slumps? Like what does it look like for someone who's trying to get the bat going, and how we talk about not pressing, but what do you do? Is it as simple as saying, hey, I've got to do everything the exact same way?
I mean, it's funny because a lot of baseball players have superstitions and that kind of things, but I think for me, it's just routine. When things are going well, I have, a routine that I do daily. And I think it's important to do that when you are in a slump as well. Sometimes you could tinker with things and I don't know, change your batting gloves or change your socks or whatever. But for me, I think it's just staying with my routine, being the same person every day. Like I said, it's a long season. The game is full of ups and downs. And so if you can just stay like that middle course, I think that's really helpful and beneficial, especially mentally.
All right, so the play you made last night, the leaping play at second base, right? Like, is that sort of at this point, as long as you've been playing baseball, do you even enjoy that type of play? Or are you sort of like, nah, that's what I do. Like, that's just, I mean, like that.
I think it's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, go ahead. I think you know exactly what it's like. I feel like there's a part of maybe that you just say like, hey, that to me, that's a routine play. Like, I don't need to be amped up about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing that frustrated me was in the first inning, there was a very similar play to that one, and it hit off the end of my glove, and I was kind of upset that I didn't catch it.
Ooh.
And so I made sure I was ready for the second one. But, I mean, yeah, I expect to make those plays, but at the same time, it's also fun. I like making the hard plays.
Okay. So
and I expect myself to make them.
I appreciate the fact that you don't allow it to like become complacent, like that you can still enjoy it. You're still playing baseball and doing what it is that you want to do. I appreciate the fact that it doesn't become like a whatever type of situation.
Yeah. The moment it gets there is, maybe it might be time to part ways with the game.
Right. Like if you can't enjoy doing things that other human beings are not capable of doing.
What are you doing? Right. Yeah, what are you doing?
Every single one of us would like dream of having that moment, and you're just sort of like, whatever. Then maybe that baseball it's just the love is not there any longer. I get it.
Yeah,
I completely understand that. We're chatting with Anthony Servideo here on GCR. Anthony, obviously, having been in the organization for a few years, you have grown up with a lot of these guys that have already gotten here. Like, what does that do for you in terms of, like, again, trying to prevent yourself from being frustrated? You want to be excited for all these guys that are your friends, but knowing that you want to be there too. Like, do you deal with any of that where you're like, man, I really would like that to be me at this point, as happy as you are for all these other guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely exciting to see, my friends that I grew up in the org playing with, and even growing up as a kid, playing with or playing against. It's cool to see them in the big leagues, and I know that I can be there one day. I just have to remind myself that everyone's path is different. The second you start comparing yourself to other people, like, oh, why is that not me? Why am I not there? That's when things go south. So I just remind myself everyone's path is different. I got off to a rough start in my pro career, being hurt, having to get surgery, all that stuff. But like I said earlier, you just gotta stay the course. I love the game. I love this org, and I just want to keep playing and help them win ball games. So I'm just gonna continue to do everything I can to make that happen.
I mentioned your grandfather, so I know he passed away when you were very young, correct?
Yeah, I was about 1 or 2 years old.
That's what I thought. And I saw a picture of like him at one point, him holding the ring and you looking at it, but clearly there would be no way that you would have a memory of that other than having seen the picture. I guess I asked, did you associate, because he played for a lot of teams, but of course he won a World Series here. Growing up with him not being around, did you associate at all with the Orioles? Like, were you as a kid, like an Orioles fan because my granddad played for them? Or was that not a thing just because, again, he wasn't around or, he hadn't played here for all that long?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not really. I wasn't a huge Orioles fan growing up, being from South Florida.
Right.
The thing was I enjoyed his legacy, the way he was as a player, Rookie of the Year, World Series champion, that's what I wanted to strive to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't, being an Orioles fan or Yankees fan or, the teams that he played on.
I understand that. And I appreciate that. And I imagine too that like there's an amount of, hey, everybody always reminds you that you're somebody's grandson, and you're sort of like, yeah, but I kind of want to be my own guy.
I'll wait until I make to the big league to start to feel that way.
Right.
They can say whatever they want now.
I understand that. I appreciate that entirely. Hey, the Baysox are home this week, and a lot of great events coming up this weekend. If you want to get down to Prince George's County Stadium while the Birds are out of town, happy hour tonight, fireworks and anime night and Scouts night and family campout night tomorrow night, fireworks and Star Wars night on Saturday. I guess I have to ask this question. There are a lot of guys in the organization, Anthony, that are like adamant. They are open about their Star Wars nerddom. They don't hide from it whatsoever. Are you a part of that group?
I'm sorry to say I'm not a part of that
so
group.
What would be the one? Like if they did a particular theme night one night with like a theme jersey, what would be the one that would get you going that would say, I'm going to have to bid on that jersey myself because I'm going to need to have it for the rest of my life?
That's a really good question. I like the Marvel series.
Okay.
So I would say
if they
maybe
did
if it was
like an Avengers
like
jersey,
an Avengers night or something like that.
Who's your one seed among Marvel heroes?
I'm gonna have to go with Thor.
Oh, okay, all right. My kids love Fat Thor, by the way. Like I got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they like nothing more. They're all in on Fat Thor. Like they actually don't like now. We took them on a Disney cruise in January, and now when they see like normal looking Thor, they're actually out.
Like,
they want fat, disheveled, ice cream eating Thor. That's their superhero. They're all in on that guy. But that's not a bad one. I'm all in on that too. But yeah, get to Baysox.com and you can check all of that out as the Baysox are home this weekend. Anthony, remind me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere like that. Is there anywhere Orioles fans can be following you?
Yeah, I'm more on Instagram than Twitter.
Okay.
It's just Anthony_Servideo.
Awesome. Give him a follow there. Anthony, I really appreciate taking the time for us this morning, man. Continued success to you, and look forward to having these conversations more as you continue along your path towards the bigs. Thanks so much for doing this, dude.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Anthony Servideo with us here on GCR. Great dude. And yeah, we haven't talked a lot about the story over the years, of course, of him being Kurt Bleffery's grandson, but just got to get the bat going. You know what I mean? Like defensively, he can do it, no problem. Just got to get the bat going, and that's sort of been the issue for him. Someone who was a high pick, he was like the 3rd-round pick back in 2020. Just got to get the bat going a little bit and match what it is that he can do in the field. All right. When we come back in, we're going to chat with, speaking of Orioles prospects, one of them did get the call this week. Connor Norby got up to the bigs, and his college coach, Cliff Godwin, the baseball coach at East Carolina, is going to join us next, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Connor Norby and how he was able to get to this point in his career. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
The Orioles list their starters for the weekend in Tampa. So here we go, 4 games. On Friday, TBA.
Who's he? Are we calling him up too?
On Saturday, TBA.
Back to back.
On Sunday, TBA. On Monday.
On Monday, right.
TBA. I mean, Brandon Hyde did say there's probably going to be a little bit more TBA in our lives moving forward, and nothing but TBA for the weekend as the Orioles put out the projected starters for this weekend. And the answer is we have no idea. Earlier this morning, Iga Swiatek did finish off Coco Gauff in 2 sets, so she's on to the final. She'll now await the winner. Jasmine Paolini looks like she's about to take the first step from Mira Andreeva. By the way, this is what a disaster for NBC. They get the semifinals too, but for some bizarre reason, I guess it's because of their morning show, they don't want to start their coverage until 11 a.m. So today, the first semifinal was the good one. Tomorrow, the first semifinal is Alcaraz Sinner. Second semifinal is Zverev Ruud. Like, just the worst scenario for NBC for both days. And tomorrow I think starts at 8:30 in the morning for the first semifinal. So maybe it'll still be going. Like, if Alcaraz and Sinner absolutely could play a 5-set classic tomorrow. So maybe it'll still be going by the time NBC picks up their TV window. I think that NBC, and I don't know like what they're doing today, but I believe that NBC has the right, now that Tennis Channel shows it live, to manipulate and to just decide that they're going to air like tape delay. And it's insane that would be a thing that would exist in 2024, but I believe they have that right because people can just watch it on the Tennis Channel. But yes, Iga Swiatek into the women's final, and Jasmine Paolini off to a very good start to try to join her as she looks for her first Grand Slam title, whereas Iga Swiatek, of course, the #1 player in the world and is proving how dominant. Ironically, the only player that really had a shot at her was her first opponent in the French Open. That was Naomi Osaka that she played in the first round. She was able to get through it. She looks for her 4th French Open title and her 5th Grand Slam title overall. All right, that's what's going on over in Paris, and that's what's getting my attention. If you notice me on video, like turning this way, it's because that's where the TV is, and I am watching tennis. That's the story. Today's show also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website all summer long. They'll have updates for you, coaching changes, news, and start preparing you for high school football season here in the state of Maryland at CountySports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Of course, earlier this week, Connor Norby made his MLB debut for the Baltimore Orioles in his 2nd game in Toronto. He, of course, hit his first career home run, his first big league hit. Let's find out a little bit more about Connor Norby. Joining us now here on GCR, someone who has gotten to know the Norby family quite well over the years. He was Connor's coach at East Carolina, where he is still the baseball coach, and now getting to know Ethan Norby much better. But let's welcome into the program Cliff Godwin, baseball coach at East Carolina, who's with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. I know it's been a very busy week for you and the program. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Glenn, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Coach, I know it was complicated because you guys had just gone through the disappointment of having the season come to a close. But your emotions, Connor getting the call, seeing him make his debut, seeing him hit the home run, can you describe what that meant to you?
Well, it's pretty crazy. You talk about everything coming full circle. Sunday night, Ethan, his brother, pitches unbelievable to get us to the, if necessary, game on Monday for a regional championship. And in my post game, one of the media members asked me about, the differences between Connor and Ethan. And I was like, oh, man, they're totally 2 different guys. And I said, Connor was way less disciplined, more high maintenance as a freshman. Ethan is like a straight A student, works hard. And I said, but the thing I just appreciate about Connor is he just grew up at East Carolina and just turned into a man. And I said, I just wish somebody would call him up. I said, the guy needs to play in the big leagues. And then I get into my office 10 minutes later, and my director of baseball operations, Blake Hardigree, is walking in with his phone on speakerphone, and it's Connor, and he's telling me that he got the call. He's going up to the big league. So pretty awesome. And of course, Ethan walked in the door, and then his parents walked in the door. So it was a really cool moment on Sunday night. That's so
cool. That is so cool that you're all together for that. That is an awesome thing. Coach, take me back. You talk about him as a freshman, but take me back to when you first, found out about Connor. Obviously, he was a local-ish kid in that area. What you knew about him, why you wanted to coach him, and what your first impressions of what he was capable of becoming were.
Well, he's probably going to kill me for telling the story, but, we knew he could hit, and he came to a camp. We call our Elite 100 camp, and sometimes we don't have enough, players to fill, all of 8 teams, so sometimes guys that we're recruiting, we'll have them play on multiple teams so they can play more games. And so Connor had an early morning Sunday game, and we're in the first base dugout, and I just said, hey, Norbs, how you doing, man? Coach, I'm tired. And I was like, oh, my God, he can't play here. So I went over to our recruiting coordinator, Jeff Blumble. I was like, I can't coach him. And so the next week he's playing in Greenville for a travel team, and Jeff's like, hey, Connor's playing over at Pitt Community College. And I know, he said he's tired, and you're not, totally on it, but can you just go? I said, I'm going to go watch one at bat. I'm going to watch one at bat, and then I'm going home. And, of course, he hits a home run his first at bat. And I called up Jeff, our recruiting coordinator, and I said, hey, just hit a home run. I said, I guess we could take a chance on him. And Connor tells a story where his mom's like, Coach Godwin just left and you hit a home run. Did you do something wrong, run around the bases or something? But kind of the rest is history. We offer him. He comes here. He just needed to grow up. He needed to learn how to work every day, and he was always talented. And kind of about halfway through his freshman year in 2019, he started showing up to practice and just getting after it every day. And then all of a sudden, about 2 weeks later, he's getting into games, and he had a few starts his freshman year. And then his sophomore year, of course, is COVID, but he hit swinging the bat great, starting second baseman, and then 21, man. You're talking about, he's the best hitter, in my opinion, in college baseball. Hit over 400 and all that good stuff.
Is the hit tool as natural as we think? Like, listening to you describe it, is because we've seen him and gotten to know him, and it just seems so natural as hit tool. Was it always that natural, or was that just something that came with that work that you were talking about?
I think it was pretty natural. I think Connor would tell you that sometimes he gets in his own head and he'll overthink it and make adjustments. But the thing Norbs has always been able to do is he has a short, compact swing, so he can let the ball get deeper than most hitters and still hit it with authority. And he's always done a really good job where if guys are throwing hard, he can hit that fastball out the opposite field. And then if you hang him off speed pitch, he'll hit it out the pull side. So I just think his swing setup has always enabled him to hit really good pitching at a high level.
He is Cliff Godwin. He is the baseball coach at East Carolina, where he had Connor Norby, and he is with us here on GCR. Coach, in getting to know Connor these last couple of years, obviously one of the things is, and he admitted to me last summer, like there's almost a frustration because in the Orioles system there's been so much talent that there was no easy path, and you could do everything the right way, and you still had to wait. How much do you think that's driven him? And knowing the way he ticks, how much do you feel like, having to just keep getting after it and doing the work and having to deal with that frustration and that wait, how much do you think that ultimately benefits him, that it hasn't been like just something that's been able to come easy for him?
Well, I definitely think it'll play dividends down the road for him, but that's the thing. I've always just been behind the scenes, like pumping him up. Hey, dude, like don't give him a reason not to call you up. If you get frustrated because everybody around you is getting called up and then you don't play well, guess what? You're going to prove them right. So, look, man, your job is to keep playing baseball, putting up numbers, and continue to hit. And at some point in time, they're going to go, we just got to call them up. And I know there was an injury that allowed this to happen, but who cares? Like, you're getting your opportunity, and let's go make the most of it. And actually, myself and our director of baseball operations are flying down to Tampa tomorrow to go watch him play Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that.
I have no doubt that you'd rather be too busy for that and rather not be able to make that trip, but the way that it works out, that's really cool that you guys are able to do that. Coach, the defense, it's been a weird thing where, like, that's been the knock is, hey, don't know how he projects as a defensive player, don't know if he can do it. The Orioles are obviously giving him the opportunity right now at second base. We've seen him run around a little bit in the outfield this season. What should we know about Connor Norby, the defensive player, and what do you make when you hear people criticize, him defensively, and that maybe being the reason why he wasn't already at the bigs?
Well, I would say this. I mean, he was a very good second baseman in college, and even Tony Manzolino, who is the infield coach, who I was director of baseball operations at Vandy, called me, I think it was 2 off seasons ago, and just picking my brain like how Norby ticks. And I said, look, he's a confidence guy. And, I think when he thinks mechanics about anything, I think it just jams him up, and then he's not freed up to go play. But I think he can play second base in the big leagues, but I do think it's, like I told him, for them to throw him in the outfield. I said, dude, if you hit, they'll just find a place for you to play. So just go enjoy all of them, because if you're in the big leagues, who cares what position you're playing?
100%, right? Like, my gosh, take advantage of that opportunity. Do you feel like he's capable of doing those other, again, not knowing? Look, there's of course the unspoken part of this, right? Is that, like, it feels like the Orioles want Jackson Holliday to be their second baseman for the foreseeable future. Do you feel like Connor is capable of playing, a corner outfield spot at the major league level?
I do. I think he's athletic enough. I mean, he's a good runner. He's got a good enough arm. I think there's always things that you can work on defensive-wise, but I definitely think he can do it in the big leagues.
We like the sounds of that. What's something that maybe we don't know yet about Connor? Just because, even being around him the last couple of years through his path to the minors, what's something that you feel like it's important for Orioles fans to know about what maybe drives this young man, what makes him tick, something like that?
I just think he's a unique guy. I've never seen any of our players be so passionate about East Carolina baseball, even though he's in the big leagues.
Really?
You know, I got thrown out in the conference tournament, and one of our players did, and I had to sit a couple games, and Norby is just blowing me up with text messages like, "Hey, coach, that's BS. I mean, that's a good slide." Like how, you know, all the stuff. And I'm laughing because I just appreciate how passionate he is for the teams that he has been a part of. He's the same way with the Orioles, you know, like it's amazing. And I just appreciate the passion he has for East Carolina baseball, even though he's playing in the big leagues.
Did you know, like, did you even have to bother, like, going through the recruiting process with Ethan, or did, like, Connor sort of make that very clear to his brother, like, no, dude, I know where you're playing. You don't be taking visits anywhere else.
Actually, Ethan had always told Connor that he would not play at East Carolina because he didn't want to follow his footsteps. Ethan was actually a little bit more of a late bloomer probably than Connor was. And so we had been following, but we really weren't ready to pull the trigger. And then all of a sudden we're like, hey, look, like we need to take this guy. And I can tell you this, if we didn't have that guy this year, we would not be where we are today. And he's a freshman, and it's tougher to play as a freshman in college baseball than it ever has been because the game's older with all the extra years and portal guys and all that stuff. I mean, Evansville had a couple 24-year-olds on their team, and you know, Ethan's 18 years old. That's a big difference, 6 years. But he was awesome. But no, it was not in Ethan's original dream to be at East Carolina, but now he is a leader in the clubhouse, and you know, going to be a guy that's going to be really good for us next year.
Man, that's really cool. It's maybe one day, who knows? Maybe they could all end up in Baltimore, and what a story that would be. Man, that would be cool. That would be so cool.
That'd be awesome.
Coach, congratulations, obviously. And we're excited. Obviously, we're really fired up. And certainly Connor driving that ball out the other night gave us no reason not to be. Like, you could even see it, too. I don't know how much you were able to watch both games, but, like, the at-bats just seemed to get better. And, like, it was almost like you were watching him adjust just over, like, 2 games at the major league level that led to it, which I don't know if you picked that up at all, Coach, but it really felt like he was already learning just from game 1 to game 2 at the major league level.
Yeah, I watched his first 2 at-bats on Monday night, and I was like, man, he's being too passive. And then I watched his first 2 at-bats on Tuesday night, and I actually sent him a text before he hit the home run, which I know he didn't see. And I was like, hey, man, stop being so passive. Swing the bat like you're a hitter. Like, go for it. And then he hits the home run, and I text him. I go, hey, I texted you that before the home run.
Take credit for it. No doubt, man. That's awesome. Coach, congratulations. Enjoy the trip down to Tampa this weekend and getting to see Connor. That's going to be an awesome thing. And thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Glenn. I appreciate it.
It's Coach Cliff Godwin from East Carolina joining us to tell us a little bit more about Connor Norby. Appreciate that. And, yes, Connor Norby is back in the lineup today for the Baltimore Orioles as they play. We'll tell you more about it here in just a second when we get into Tubular. But Connor Norby, after having the night off last night, does return to the lineup today. Westberg, Rutschman, of course, DHing because it's day game after a night game. Mountcastle, Henderson, Santander, Hayes, Norby, McCann, and Colton Cowser in center. So Cedric Mullins, after playing last night, not playing tonight. And, yeah, Cade Povich making his MLB debut. But before we get tubular, it's time for, we gotta streamline that process. We have to
practice after the show.
Practice?
Well, you being like, all right, now it's time for, like, there's like.
Well, you just got to know when we get into the final segment of the show that, like, that's coming.
All right, I'm ready.
Did you think we were going to do, like, a bonus segment today? Like, we're going to do a golf segment or something afterwards?
Well, I thank the guest.
Right, and I appreciate that, right. But, like, then after you thank the guest, and I'm
working on it.
I gave the lineup, I bought you time. I did the whole thing.
Fine.
It's time for Tidbit.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities,
entertainment, and world-class cuisine. Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right. What you got for tidbit today?
Yesterday, Paul Skeens once again pitched for the Pirates. It was his 5th Major League start, and he also became the first pitcher.
He went up against Shohei.
He did go up. Yes, he did. He did. And he ended up getting the win because he got a lot of run supports. And he became the first pitcher in the expansion era, which
By the way, we're done with.
1961.
I'm looking outside the window, and it looks awful.
I hope it stops, too.
It's relevant because it's supposed to be my younger son's final baseball game tonight, so I'm trying to get a sense. Well, it's his birthday.
I'm on the bump tonight, too. So
that's obviously very important. It's his birthday, so my Mrs. Clark made
team
cupcakes for the team.
Sweet.
And
maybe I'll go to that instead.
Yeah, it might be more fun. Well, I don't know if it's happening or not. I don't know what we do. If not, we're gonna have 50 cupcakes sitting at the house.
Let's see what the radar wants to tell us. Hourly says...
Obviously, thoughts with everybody who was impacted by the storms last night, as it was very unpleasant. Very, very unpleasant in certain parts of the state. Very dangerous, obviously. What are you seeing?
All right, hold on. That's okay. There's a lot of if you're in D.C., not good.
Well, we're not. So,
but we are in Carroll County, northern Baltimore County. You should be good.
Okay, all
should be good. It looks like
it just looks gross. Right
it does.
Now.
It does.
I'm doing your bit, obviously.
I mean, they can play right
ominous
now.
Look, yeah, but there's some ominous looking clouds.
Going that way.
Yeah.
I just see gray clouds over there.
Yeah, they're a little bit more than gray.
Okay. All right, maybe that's I guess that's wrong because DC's that way. So.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know what to make of that.
Okay.
Don't know.
Anyway, Paul Skeens gets run support. He is the first pitcher to debut in the expansion era in 1961 to get 5 or more runs of run support from his offense in each
How
of his
jealous
5
is Corbin
starts.
Burns?
Each of his first 5 starts, he's gotten 5 runs.
How about that?
So,
and he's been pretty good.
And he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's
a good combination.
It is a good combination. Right now, I don't like recognizing the Yankees, but Anthony Volpe and Aaron Judge are on a combined. Together, they've both reached base safely in 31 straight games, and so teammates.
Wait. They both have different 31 game.
Correct.
Streaks. So they haven't. It's not been the same 31 game.
They both most consecutive games reaching base safely. Teammates. So it's been 31 games where both Volpe and Judge have reached base.
So they had to play in the same game?
They did have to, yes.
So this is a very unique statistic. If one of them played in a game where the other one didn't, and in that game that player didn't reach base, then does it not count
it might not
to this
count.
streak?
And it's all, but it all is. You also factor in
I'm not trying to say it still
stars.
Yeah, I get they're probably playing basically every day. I understand that. I just trying to get a sense for, are these two guys that in each of the last 31 games the Yankees have played, both of them,
gotcha.
Do they both separately have 31 game on base streaks? I'm trying to figure out, or does one of them a 35 game on base streak and the other? I don't. Maybe I shouldn't care this much. You know what? Baseball games. The baseball games at 1. Get on with it.
Yeah. So Volpe and Judge are both at it's an active streak of 31 straight games where they both have reached base. There are 4 other pairs of teammates that have had longer on-base streaks as teammates on the same team.
Okay.
So 36 is the record.
I feel like we're going to have to go by teams and then figure it out from there.
This is also since the expansion era, so 1961, and I'll let you know the furthest one back is 1988.
Okay. Were they Athletics in 1988?
No, it wasn't the Athletics.
Were they Giants?
No.
Were they Cardinals?
No.
Were they Royals?
No, they weren't Royals.
Were they? Oh boy. Who else was good in 1988? How about Dodgers?
Not Dodgers. I'm gonna give you the team.
They were in the World Series. No, I don't.
Okay. All right, cool. Good.
I guess if I've named one that it wasn't 88, but it was another year, you should probably tell me that.
It has no. You have not named any actually.
I have not named any teams that were involved with this. All right. It was. Were there Red Sox?
It was in fact in 88. It was the Red Sox.
Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs was involved. This was the 32 game on base streak. The Yankees are going to tie that, aiming to tie that.
1988 Red Sox. Was the other one? Oh God.
probably
Dwight Evans?
Not Dwight Evans.
Jim Rice?
Not Jim Rice. He's probably, out of the 8 guys on this list, he probably is the lowest.
Great.
He's a 2-time All-Star.
A 2-time All-Star.
But he was a Red Sox for all 11 of his pro seasons.
He was a Red Sox for all 11 of his pro seasons. Tom Brunansky.
Tom Brunansky.
It's a guy that probably checks similar boxes.
He's a Silver Slugger in '88, actually. So this was his best season.
Mike Greenwell.
Really?
Okay.
Well done. Wade Boggs and Mike Greenwell, 32 straight games getting on base together. Then we have.
So were there any other Yankees? Oh,
no.
Next year?
Yeah, no other Yankees.
Next
it was
year.
98, 01, and 03 were the other 3.
98.
streaks.
Were they Mariners?
There was a pair of Mariners.
It was in 98?
Not 98, but
in
01.
Yeah, 01 makes sense. So Ichiro would be the obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
A-Rod?
Not A-Rod. Was A-Rod going by 01? No.
I think he was still in.
Okay.
Right? Oh, man. Maybe I don't. It was around then. Maybe he was gone. Okay. He might have been a Ranger in 01.
He was a Ranger. That was his first season in Texas.
All right. So how about Edgar Martinez?
Edgar Martinez and Ichiro, 35, the second longest teammate on base streak.
So in 98, it was the Padres.
Not the Padres.
Okay. It was the Guardians or Indians. That's because it was the Marlins.
Not the Marlins.
That's because it was the Cubs.
The 2 remaining teams, AL East team, NL East team.
NL East and AL East. That's because in 98 it was the Phillies.
Not the Phillies.
The Mets.
Not the Mets.
Well, we've named just about all of them. It was an Expo then.
And the NL East team was no, not the Expos. Was
Didn't I say I didn't say the Braves?
Oh, you did say the Braves?
I could have sworn it was
my
one of
apologies
guesses.
then.
The Braves.
The Braves in 03 are on this
03
list.
Braves. So Chipper?
Not Chipper, actually.
Okay. A little thrown off by that. Andrew Jones?
Andrew Jones. This was a 34-game on-base streak by these 2 teammates.
Andrew Jones in 03 and littering and
guy that played. I guess I won't give a hint yet. Let you get one more guess. Played
Julio Franco.
Not Julio Franco. Played right next to Chipper Jones.
Right next to shortstop. Furcal?
Rafael Furcal.
He's a hell of a player, man. He was a hell of a player. All right, so
And
the AL East team in
98.
98. The Orioles?
The Orioles have the record, actually. 36 straight games of reaching base consecutively.
So funny because 98 was such a disappointing season, but that probably means it has to be Robbie Alomar.
Not Robbie Alomar.
Well, that's stunning. Raffy?
No.
Jesus. Brady?
No. Feels like it's going to be a little too...
Surhoff?
No.
Oh, my God. Harold Baines?
No, not Harold Baines.
Cal?
Cal.
I don't remember this even a little bit.
Cal Ripken Jr.
Cal and who else is still? Eric Davis?
Eric Davis.
Shut up.
Yep. Eric Davis and Cal Ripken reached base consecutively in 36 straight games.
How were they not better? Maybe that's what happens when you blow out your manager after he wins Manager of the Year. The same day that he won Manager of the Year. Just keep that in mind. All right, very good.
I think you're right.
That's tidbit. Now, how much time do you need me to pad this time in order to be able to be prepared to do this? I know you were doing the tidbit. I understand that. But we just got to have a streamlined process by which we can have this prepared and be more – the transition can go more smoothly because we're going to be doing this every day.
I know.
Now it's time to get tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, here's what's coming up. As I mentioned, the Orioles and Blue Jays finish off this 4-game set. Orioles try to clinch a series win. Cade Povich making his Major League debut against Yusei Kikuchi. And not just you say, but I say Kikuchi as well. That's coming up at 1 o'clock on MASN. It's also on MLB Network in the rest of the country. MASN will have Braves Nationals at 6:45. That's also the free game of the day on MLB TV in the rest of the country. Let's just do the other big ones. Of course, the French Open women's semifinals. Looks like Jasmine Paolini is going to finish off Mira Andreeva. So she will go on to Saturday's final. But you can watch the rest of that on NBC, Peacock, and Tennis Channel. Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight at 8:30 on ABC. The other big one, that's, of course, the Celtics and Mavericks. I'd like to think that you guys know that. And then the other big one locally.
My brother wanted to know why we didn't preview the NBA Finals.
All of the local angles there are to the NBA. We do local.
I told him I dropped Daniel Gafford's name as much as I could.
Right. I mean, Sam Cassell is on the Celtics staff, so there is one local angle if you want it. That's what we got. Baltimore's own Sam Cassell, and he's like Sam Cassell winning another title as an assistant coach. It's kind of like he's done it, or he did it as a player. Has he won one? Now I got to think about that. I know he won a title as a player with the Celtics. Did he win a title anywhere as an assistant? Maybe he's never won a title as assistant coach. But it wouldn't even be like his first ring, so it wouldn't be that. Like if he was head coach, it would probably be a nice story. But as an assistant coach, it's nah.
I don't think he won a ring as an assistant, has he?
No, maybe not as. But he won one as a player. He was on the Celtics.
08, yeah.
Yes, correct. All right. Anyway, that's the only local angle that you've got for the NBA Finals is that Sam Cassell is on the Celtics bench. Also, Game 2 of the Women's College World Series. Who won Game 1 last night?
Oklahoma.
So they could finish off the series tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN. The rest of the baseball, Royals Guardians at 1 is on MLB Network and also on ESPN Plus. Oh, okay, got it. It's on MLB Network locally because the rest of the country gets the Orioles game, and it's on ESPN Plus nationally. Twins Yankees at 7, Diamondbacks Padres joined in progress at 11. I was trying to say the other local story tonight. It's not happening locally, but it's close enough. Angel Reese is playing in D.C. tonight. The Chicago Sky and Washington Mystics. That's at 7 o'clock on Amazon Prime. If you can't head down to the big arena in D.C. to check that out. Round 1 of the Memorial, 2 o'clock on Golf Channel and Access TV for TNA Impact tonight at 8. Non-sports?
Non-sports-wise, let's see. David Ortiz is going to be on Seth Meyers because I don't know why.
I swear to God, I don't know if they do it on MASN TV, but on the app, you get fed this stupid David Ortiz DraftKings commercial all the time, and there is a noise that he makes. And we need to find it because it's a clip that I want to use. I don't know. I think he's trying to say put me in, but it sounds like this. Man. I think he's saying put me in, but you have to hear it. It's so high pitched and strange and not an actual combination of words. It could be anything. Anything at all. I think he's done a few commercials for
Kevin Hart?
DraftKings. I don't think so. I think it's him
Man,
sitting
that's
around.
big.
No, that's not it.
So what's
That's not it.
Fetty?
That's not
Big
the
short
one.
odds?
Stop playing it. It's not the one.
This is for last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to track it down. It's the sound. Anyone who's got the MASN app knows exactly what I'm talking about.
So I don't have the MASN app, so I don't think I've seen this one.
Yeah,
I feel like I would know.
Apparently
people are getting on. Because I use MLB TV, there's an MLB TV commercial that I don't get, but it's like for F1, I think. And the guy has he's Portuguese or he's Italian or something. And when he's talking really fast, and it sounds like he says IF something.
All right.
That's pretty funny.
This is, by the way, the Tennis Channel app has fed me. I don't think they sold any commercials on the Tennis Channel app. It's nothing but PSAs. This one is
this commercial. I hate this commercial.
This is a PSA for not texting and driving.
Yeah, it's a good commercial.
Is what it is, but it's like, this girl didn't respond to me, and then
honestly,
when she
we've heard it 1,200 times this week.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew what it was about.
That's what this is. It's a PSA for not texting and driving. They're also running a PSA about being a dad, where
coming right at you.
A girl.
I think both of these go right to you.
Yeah, exactly. A girl yells out "Papa," and then the dad goes and gets on his computer underneath her bed. That's where he does his work from. That's all they've got. The Tennis Channel app. It's all they've had all the last 2 weeks is those two PSAs. I don't know what it is, but they just run those PSAs over and over again.
Ariana Grande and Ron Howard will be on Jimmy Fallon, And Ron Howard apparently narrates the Jim Henson doc on Disney+.
Oh, okay.
There's not a whole lot. Welcome to Wrexham tonight. And then on the History Channel, they're doing D-Day, the Unheard Tapes.
Okay.
And just, obviously it is the anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah, 80th.
Otherwise, there's not a whole lot that sticks out. On Prime Video, it's called Council Culture series that they're doing that is like a roundtable that Nick Cannon hosts with a roundtable of celebrity men discussing their mental health. It seems like a good idea, but it's like Lamar Odom, Howie Mandel, Ray J, Neo, and they have real doctors.
I'm sure it's a nice thought. I'm just not going to be something that's going to be for me. Griffin and I watched the first episode of Clipped yesterday, and then I watched episode 2 last night.
You made me go back and finish it, so I'm
no, it's bad. Like, here's the thing. It's not so bad that because I think it's only 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and watch the rest of them for the sake of it.
There.
But like I feel bad because
I like Lawrence Fishburne.
That's the only redeemable quality about this show. I guess maybe the way they present the female characters is not terrible, like in that they're trying to make them more complicated and not just like, she was a hussy, she was, I think they're trying to give them layers. The casting is so unfathomably bad.
Think it's not supposed to be about the players.
I understand that, but the players are too involved for the casting to be this bad.
That's a good point.
Like it's one thing if it's for one scene and the casting is just dreadful.
Like, that's Blake Griffin. It's like, well,
but like they are involved throughout the
Yeah.
course of the show, and it's not. This guy looks nothing like Blake Griffin. The guy looks nothing like J.J. Redick. The guy only
he's
sorta.
white, so.
Yeah, he does white. Only sorta looks like Chris Paul. Like it's.
He probably is the closest.
It's the closest, but it's still not close. It's like the other two are zeros. So Chris Paul being a 5 is an upgrade. The DeAndre Jordan one does not look like DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan is Lizard. I hope everything works out between those two.
It's bad. It's just not. There's no one to root for in any of this. Like that's.
I'm rooting for Doc Rivers, I think.
Okay, but you know how that ends. Like, there's no redeemable, and even like Doc Rivers, they don't present as like a redeemable. They just present him as a guy that wants to win a basketball series. Like, he's not there to try to like
championship.
Thank you.
He's
like
bring a title to L.A.
But like, he's not trying to confront how awful Donald Sterling is. He's just frustrated that he has to deal with it. Like, they had this like poignant scene with Elgin Baylor, and if you know the history, Elgin Baylor, like was the GM of the Clippers and told a lot of stories about how awful Donald Sterling was, but like nobody's trying to actually do anything about how awful Donald Sterling is.
Except for
sucks.
V.
But she's only doing that for her own selfish reasons.
But she's trying to adopt 2 nice kids.
That's fine, but that she doesn't want she in fact does not want Donald Sterling to go down. She just wants to get what she can out of it. Like it's a bad. I don't know how this would be good. I think what I'm realizing is this is not a scripted show. Like this is a 30 for 30. This is a doc. This is whatever. No pun intended. It's just not a scripted show. What made Showtime work was that like it was fun. It was fun as hell. This show can't be fun. And the casting is just so dreadful. It's so dreadful. Oh my God. Like I can't believe. Like Ramona Shelburne was involved. She's like an executive producer of the show. I can't believe that no one stepped in and said like, "Hey, we want to market this to basketball fans. This is a joke." They show the poster of the guys that are supposed to be Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, and just like, what F? What is this? You'd be better off just using fictional, like made-up names. Just don't even turn it into a fictional series so that we can't.
Variety said it's a fittingly trashy take on Donald Sterling. That's kind of maybe that's what they were going for. They wanted to make it all sloppy, just like
it's a bad show. It's a
Clippers
bad show. That I will continue watching because I can't give things up, and it's bad.
You got 4 weeks left.
There's just nothing there. All right, thanks today to Cliff Godwin, the baseball coach at East Carolina, who, of course, coached Connor Norby. Thanks also to Anthony Servideo, the Baysox, Chelsea Janes. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Stan will be in tomorrow. Brian Baldinger is going to join us tomorrow. We'll talk some Ravens with Baldy, stuff and things. All right. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise, Maryland, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, the Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, the MSAA, Maryland, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.